Chapter 646. When Lin Tian thought that he was about to take off the title of a virgin, he was extremely excited, but he still found it hard to believe. He asked, "Are you serious? You're not joking, right?" "Then just take it that I'm joking," Yang Zhixia said angrily. Although what she said just now was a lie, she still felt very embarrassed when she said it out loud. After hearing Lin Tian's question, she was naturally a little angry. "No, I'll take it seriously," Lin Tian hurriedly said. Then he eagerly walked to the vegetable field and took out a green jade bottle under the cover of some vegetable leaves. About 3 days ago, Lin Tian used up all the spiritual liquid in the bottle. Now that 3 days had passed, Lin Tian sensed that a lot of spiritual liquid had accumulated in the bottle. Lin Tian thought about drinking the spiritual liquid to improve his cultivation. However, he had something exciting to do now, so he could only postpone this matter. Lin Tian took the green jade bottle that was about 1 foot tall and walked to Yang Zhixia. The secret of why the vegetables, ginseng, and fleece flowers can grow so well is all in this bottle. When Yang Zhixia saw the green jade bottle, she knew that it should be the emperor's treasure. Yang Zhixia already knew the effect of the rare treasure, but she naturally wouldn't show it. Instead, she asked Lin Tianwen with some doubts. She asked with doubt, "This bottle looks ordinary." Lin Tian said with a smile, "You don't know this. This bottle is called the Chaos Bottle. It can automatically absorb spiritual qi and turn it into spiritual liquid. I diluted the spiritual liquid with water and watered these vegetables and medicinal herbs. It can make the vegetables and medicinal herbs grow crazily. Don't think that those ginseng and fleece flowers are all 500 years old. In fact, they are wild seedlings that I dug up in the mountains. In less than a month, they have reached the level of 500 years old. It's really incredible," Yang Zhixia exclaimed and then said, "However, aren't you afraid that someone will steal this precious bottle?" Of course not. Even if someone steals it, they can't use this bottle. Even if there's spiritual liquid in the bottle, they can't pour it out," Lin Tian said proudly. "Moreover, as long as I want, this bottle can fly to me." "Humph, it's too incredible." Yang Zhixia curled her lips. "You don't believe it, right? Let's give it a try." Lin Tian handed the bottle to Yang Zhixia and then took 10 steps back. "Take the bottle." "Take it," Yang Zhixia said. "I like to see how you can make the bottle fly to you. Open your eyes wide now." Lin Tian chuckled. Then, with a thought in his mind, with a swish, the chaos bottle in Yang Zhixia's hand flew to Lin Tian, who was 10 steps away. "How is it? Awesome, right?" Lin Tian walked towards Yang Zhixia with the bottle in his hand. Why? Yang Zhixia covered her chest, her face full of astonishment. "The chaos bottle has already recognized me as its master. Only I can command and control it, let alone a distance of 10 steps. Even if it's 100 miles away, I can still make the chaos bottle fly to my side with just a thought. Tell me, would I be afraid of someone stealing the chaos bottle?" Lin Tian said. "So what? Someone stole the bottle. Can't the bottle be removed?" Yang Zhixia looked curious. "You don't understand. After the chaos bottle recognized me as its master with my blood, it was bound to me and became a part of my body. Unless I remove it myself, no one can remove it by force." Lin Tian regarded Yang Zhixia as his woman, so he didn't hesitate to explain these things to her. "I see." Yang Zhixia nodded and then looked at Lin Tian in disbelief. "So, are you an immortal? More or less?" Lin Tian chuckled. "Do you think I'm awesome? Do you start to like me?" "I don't like you," Yang Zhixia secretly complained. She was afraid that the disgust on her face would be noticed by Lin Tian, so she lowered her head very low to avoid letting Lin Tian see her expression. "I've told you the secret. Shouldn't you give me something in return?" Lin Tian saw that Yang Zhixia lowered her head and didn't speak. He thought she was shy, so he struck while the iron was hot. Yang Zhixia calmed down her disgust for Lin Tian. Then, she raised her head and stammered. I'm a little nervous. I want to go to the toilet." "You won't be nervous. I'll be very gentle." Lin Tian chuckled. "Go ahead. I'll wait for you. Don't peek. Turn your head away." Yang Zhixiao walked toward the grass that was half a man's height not far away. However, after taking a few steps, she suddenly turned back and said to Lin Tian, Okay, I won't peek. Lin Tian was also very cooperative. He turned his back and thought, I can look at it openly later. There's no need to peek. After turning around, Lin Tian heard a series of footsteps. After waiting for a short while, he suddenly heard Yang Zhixia shriek, Ah! Lin Tian was shocked. He wondered if Yang Zhixia had been bitten by a snake when she was relieving herself. However, when he turned his head, he found that Yang Zhixia was being held hostage by Wang Haoren with a knife. Why are you here, you gigolo? Lin Tian turned pale with fright. Humph! I've long guessed that you must have a big secret since you can grow these vegetables. So, I put a bug on Yang Zhixia. I heard everything you said just now. Wang Haoren smiled sinisterly like a bad guy. Lin Tian, help me. Yang Zhixia was also very cooperative. She shouted in panic. I knew you were up to no good, you pretty boy. Lin Tianya clenched his teeth. I knew it. He had long felt that there was something wrong with Wang Haoren's spending so much money to buy his things. However, Lin Tian was not afraid of Wang Haoren because of his ability. But he never expected that this despicable guy would threaten him with Yang Zhixia. It's too late to know that now. Don't talk nonsense. If you don't want Yang Zhixia to die, quickly remove the ownership and then give me the bottle, Wang Haoren said. Gigolo, in your dreams. Lin Tian said angrily. It seems that you don't even care about Yang Zhixia's life for that bottle. Okay, then this little beauty is mine. Wang Haoren laughed sinisterly. He sniffed Yang Zhixia's hair with his nose and looked intoxicated. Little beauty, now you are mine. Let's find a place where no one will disturb us and talk about life and dreams. You bad guy, I was wrong about you. Yang Zhixia tried to pretend that she hated Wang Haoren very much. Wang Haoren put the knife on Yang Zhixia's neck and held her to retreat, ready to leave. Gigolo, stop. We can still negotiate. Lin Tian stopped him. Bullshit. Unless you remove the ownership and give me the bottle, there is no negotiation, Wang Haoren said. I promise you, as long as you don't hurt Zhixia. Lin Tian gritted his teeth and said. Chapter 647. Since that's the case, hurry up. I don't have that much patience. Wang Haoren kept holding Yang Zhixia hostage and urged Lin Tian. Hearing this, Lin Tian reached out and bit his finger, then dripped blood on the chaos bottle. The bottle emitted a faint light, but it quickly receded. I've already removed the ownership. Take the bottle and let Zhixia go. Lin Tian put the bottle on the ground and then took a few steps back. Damn it, do you think I'm stupid and easy to fool? Wang Haoren complained his heart. Lin Tian didn't remove the ownership just now. He was just pretending. However, Wang Haoren didn't expect Lin Tian to be so cooperative. Step back a little. I'm worried, Wang Haoren said. This gigolo is quite cautious, Lin Tian muttered in his heart, then stepped back a little. Wang Haoren stepped forward with Yang Zhixia and stared at Lin Tian's every move. Then, he pretended to be careful and picked up the chaos bottle. Then, Wang Haoren cut his finger with a knife and dripped blood on the bottle. The bottle didn't move at all. Why isn't there any reaction? Wang Haoren knew the reason, but he pretended not to know. You're too bad, so you can't recognize me as your owner. What does it have to do with me? Lin Tian spread out his hands. Cut the crap. You didn't remove the ownership at all. Don't play tricks with me. My patience is limited. Wang Haoren put down the bottle again, then stepped back with Yang Zhixia. Lin Tian saw that Wang Haoren didn't fall for his trick and felt regretful. No matter what, he didn't want Wang Haoren to get the chaos bottle, but he also didn't want Yang Zhixia to get hurt. Lin Tian's brain quickly turned, thinking of a way to get the best of both worlds. Hurry up, don't dawdle. Wang Haoren urged. He tilted his head and touched Yang Zhixia's little face. Then he said to Lin Tian, Brother Lin, don't worry. If you dilly-dally for 3 seconds, I'll kiss her. You can continue to dilly-dally. Yang Zhixia's heart was as sweet as honey, but she cried and shouted, Bad guy, don't touch me. Wang Haoren, if you touch Zhixia again, believe it or not, I will kill you. When Lin Tian saw this scene, he immediately stomped his feet and said, "Ding! Host has damaged Lin Tian's mental state. Reward, 3,000 villain points. Lin Tian's protagonist aura, minus 150. Host's villain aura, plus 150. With another smacking sound, only then did Wang Haoran say to Lin Tian, "What did you say?" "Ding! Host has damaged Lin Tian's mental state. Reward, 3,000 villain points. Lin Tian's protagonist aura, minus 150. Host's villain aura, plus 150. You." Lin Tian clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. "Hurry up. I'm counting the time. You continue to dawdle. Can I get the hang of it?" Wang Haoran grabbed the knife with one hand and held Yang Zhixia hostage with the other hand. "Stop. I'll remove the ownership right away." Lin Tian hurriedly stopped him. Wang Haoran retracted his hand. Lin Tian slowly squatted down and thought of a countermeasure. Soon, he had an idea. So he squeezed out a drop of blood from the spot where he had bitten his finger and dripped it on the chaos bottle again. Then, he silently chanted something in his heart. Soon, the chaos bottle shone brightly and blood-red runes appeared on the bottle. Then, they all dissipated. At the same time, the connection between Lin Tian and the chaos bottle was broken. When Wang Haoran saw this scene, he couldn't help but feel a little hot in his heart. I can make a heavenly oath and remove the ownership. If I violate it, I will be destroyed by the heavens and die a horrible death. After Lin Tian finished speaking, he slowly lifted the chaos bottle and took a deep breath. "Now it's yours. Catch it." After saying that, he threw it directly at Wang Haoran. And Wang Haoran also did as Lin Tian said. Because he was too nervous about the bottle and was afraid that it would break, he directly abandoned Yang Zhixia and ran a few steps forward to catch the bottle. When Lin Tian saw Wang Haoran's action, he grinned. He secretly picked up a small stone when he squatted down and flicked it at Wang Haoran's forehead. This attack used all of Lin Tian's cultivation. The stone's penetrative power was extremely terrifying. If it hit, it would definitely make the gigolo die on the spot. Lin Tian watched as Wang Haoran caught the bottle, and that stone was about to hit Wang Haoran's forehead and take his life. However, when the stone was a foot away from Wang Haoran's forehead, it froze in midair as if it was blocked by an invisible force. This strange scene made Lin Tian turn pale with fright. "I finally got it." Wang Haoran looked at the bottle in his hand and sighed. Lin Tian was a wretched little peasant protagonist. His brain was not particularly good. He only rose to power because of the protagonist's halo. He was really easy to fool. If it were a scheming old monster like Yi Fan, he would have seen through this trick long ago. Ding! Host has successfully swindled Lin Tian's chaos bottle. Received 18,000 villain points. Lin Tian's protagonist halo minus 900. Host's villain halo plus 900. At this moment, Yang Zhixia saw this scene and stopped pretending. She went to Wang Haoran's side and said happily, "Congratulations, Emperor." Sigh, as the reincarnation of the Celestial Emperor, I actually have to do this kind of shady business. Just thinking about it makes me blush with shame. Wang Haoran sighed. The book said that to achieve great things, one should not bother about trifles. Emperor, you also had no choice. Don't take it to heart. Yang Zhixia comforted. I'm sorry that you have to deceive others. Wang Haoran patted Yang Zhixia's head. It's nothing. I'm willing to do anything for the Emperor. Yang Zhixia blushed a little and leaned into Wang Haoran's arms. You two dogs. Although Lin Tian was confused by the conversation between the two, he could naturally see that Yang Zhixia was in cahoots with Wang Haoran to deceive him. Ding! Host has damaged Lin Tian's mentality. Received 5,000 villain points. Lin Tian's protagonist halo minus 250. Host's villain halo plus 250. Lin Tian, this chaos bottle originally belonged to my emperor. I'm just returning it to its rightful owner. I won't allow you to humiliate my emperor. Yang Zhixia said unhappily. Yang Zhixia. Yang Zhixia. I thought you were a kind and good girl. I didn't expect you to be a *TCH. I was blind to have misjudged you. Lin Tian said hatefully. Hearing this, Wang Haoren's expression changed slightly and looked at Yang Jixia. To be honest, he didn't expect that the innocent and lovely Yang Jixia would be so good at deceiving people. Although Wang Haoren taught her step by step, letting her know how to deceive Lin Tian. However, Wang Haoren was still a little surprised that Yang Jixia could do it. Perhaps deceiving men was a woman's innate talent. Even someone as innocent as Yang Jixia was not careless when it came to deceiving men. Lin Tianyu, Yang Jixia was criticized. Her face turned red with anger, and she couldn't refute for a while. Jixia, this guy brought you here with bad intentions. If he didn't have any lust for you, you wouldn't have been fooled. You didn't do anything wrong. It's just that we have different standpoints. Don't take his words to heart. Wang Haoren explained. Okay. Yang Jixia's face suddenly looked much better. Chapter 648. Gigolo, you colluded with this bitch to cheat me of my things. You actually dare to say it in such a dignified manner. I have never seen such a shameless person like you. Lin Tian was furious as he spoke in a furious voice. Kid, this was originally mine, Wang Haoren said slowly with a serious expression. In my previous life, this primal chaos bottle was taken away by an immortal emperor who besieged me. For you to be able to obtain this primal chaos bottle, that immortal sovereign must have already passed away. You also obtained his inheritance, and this primal chaos bottle is one of them. Lin Tian was shocked, and his slightly tanned face turned pale. He had never told Yang Jixia about this. So how did Wang Haoren know about this? Could it be that he was telling the truth? Lin Tian was bewildered. When he received the immortal sovereign's inheritance, he did not know the origin of this immortal sovereign. So he naturally could not accurately judge whether Wang Haoren was telling the truth or not. Wang Haoren continued. The immortal sovereign who passed you his inheritance is my enemy. You are my enemy's disciple, and you just insulted me and Jixia. Logically speaking, I should not let you live. But seeing that the heavens are virtuous, I can let you live, but I will have to erase your immortal sovereign's inheritance. Do you accept? Lin Tian felt an extremely dangerous aura from Wang Haoren, and he had just seen Wang Haoren's methods, so he knew that Wang Haoren's cultivation was far above his. However, Lin Tian was really unwilling to lower his head, and he hesitated for a moment. There is hatred in your eyes. It seems that you are unrepentant. Since that is the case, I can't let you live. Wang Haoren did not give him much time to think. With a flick of his finger, a terrifying flame catalyzed by spirit chi flew out and shot toward Lin Tian. Lin Tian was shocked, but he did not even have the chance to dodge before he was hit by the flame. In an instant, a wisp of flame rose up and engulfed Lin Tian. Lin Tian didn't even manage to let out a few screams before he died. In less than 30 seconds, Lin Tian turned into ashes and disappeared from the world. Ding! Host has killed main character Lin Tian. Reward: 15,000 villain points. Lin Tian was only at the first level of the Qi refining stage, while Wang Haoren had already reached the great circle of the Qi refining stage. The two of them were simply not on the same level. If Wang Haoren wanted to take care of Lin Tian, it was just an easy matter. Furthermore, Wang Haoren never thought of sparing Lin Tian's life either. The reason why he said so much to Lin Tian was that Yang Jixia was present. Otherwise, Wang Haoren would have killed Lin Tian the moment he got the primal chaos bottle. When Yang Jixia saw this, her face turned slightly pale. As a girl who grew up in the countryside, she had never seen such a scene. A living person was gone, just like that. This brat insulted you, he deserved to die. Remember, you are my imperial concubine. You are incomparably noble. No one in this world can insult you. If anyone dares to, I will kill them. Wang Haoren said indifferently. Yang Jixia was stunned as she stared at Wang Haoren. Ding! Host has aroused the heart of the female lead. Yang Jixia. Reward: 1,000 villain points. Receiving the system notification, Wang Haoren was secretly happy. The reason why he did not touch Yang Jixia before was that he was afraid that there would be some obvious changes in Yang Jixia and Lin Tian would notice something, which would affect his plan to seize the primal chaos bottle. However, Lin Tian had already turned into ashes, so he did not need to care so much. When Wang Haoren saw that Yang Zhixia had been seduced by him and was looking at him affectionately, he could not help but feel his heart burning. It was currently autumn, but in the open area that was like a paradise, spring was quietly blooming. Everything happened in a logical manner. Ding! Host has obtained the female lead, Yang Zhixia, for the first time. Reward: 16,000 villain points. Yang Zhixia's female lead Halo -800. Host villain Halo plus 800. Wang Haoren had laid a solid foundation for the Zhuji phase, and Yang Zhixia had also benefited a lot from it. She was originally just a weak woman who did not have the strength to truss a chicken, but she had become a beginner cultivator at the first level of the Qi refinement realm. Her talent for cultivation was evident. However, as the female lead of a peasant cultivator, it was normal for her to have talent for cultivation. After the matter was completed, Wang Haoren successfully made the primal chaos bottle recognize him as its master. Ever since the heaven-opening tower, Wang Haoren had obtained another connate cardinal treasure. The spiritual liquid produced by the primal chaos bottle, in addition to catalyzing spiritual plants, could also speed up cultivation. It was also a cultivation cheat. There was still some spiritual liquid in the primal chaos bottle that he had not had time to use. While Yang Zhixia was catching her breath, Wang Haoren refined and absorbed all the spiritual liquid in the bottle. His spiritual energy had increased by a lot. Then, he turned his attention to these small grotto heavens and blessed lands. Lin Tian had planted a lot of things here. Those crops were not of much use to Wang Haoren, but those ginseng and fleece flowers were very valuable. With so many old people participating in the fleece flowers, they could officially enter the foundation establishment stage after devouring all of them and transforming them into spiritual energy. However, it was much slower to convert these people's fleece flowers into spiritual energy than directly absorbing the spiritual liquid. Wang Haoren knew that he could not rush it, so he swept away all the fleece flowers and stored them in the heaven-opening tower. After doing all this, Wang Haoren left with Yang Zhixia. However, before leaving, he set up a defensive barrier outside the valley to prevent others from breaking in. Compared to the blue planet, where spiritual energy was thin, this valley could be considered a blessed land. Wang Haoren naturally had to protect it well. After the primal chaos bottle recognized him as its master, Wang Haoren also hid it in the blessed land so that it could absorb spiritual energy and transform it into spiritual liquid, which would be convenient for future cultivation. In the middle of the morning, Bu Fian woke up early in the morning and didn't see anyone. She called Wang Haoren, but couldn't get through, so she was about to go out to look for him. However, as soon as she went out, she saw Wang Haoren and Yang Zhixia coming back. "You? Where did you go?" Bu Fian saw that the two seemed to be a little intimate, so she asked suspiciously. "Third sister, I know you have a lot of questions. I'll tell you slowly when we get back. I'll tell you everything you want to know," Wang Haoren said. Bu Fian nodded and didn't ask the reason. Instead, she changed the topic. "You called me wrongly a few times. It seems that I didn't correct you, so you didn't realize it. I'm your fourth sister." Wang Haoren was stunned for a moment before he realized that his third sister was Bian Su. There are too many sisters. Sometimes it's a little hard to tell them apart. You have to be careful. Don't mistake any of us for seventh sister. I don't care, but my eldest sister is very fierce. You have to be careful, Bu Fian reminded him. Wang Haoren's eyelids twitched. There was really one time when he mistook Tantai Yaoyue for Qiu Qianwei. Fortunately, he was quick-witted enough at that time to calm her down. "Fourth sister, do you mean that you're willing to let me mistake you for Wei Wei?" Wang Haoren winked at Bu Fian and asked with a smile. Chapter 649. Hearing Wang Haoren's words, Bu Fian couldn't help but panic. She didn't dare to look at him, but she soon calmed down and snorted. "If Wei Wei is here, you could try saying that. She will pull your ear." Hearing this, Wang Haoren couldn't help but smile. Bu Fian just used Qiu Qianwei to talk about it. She didn't mean to tell him not to have any ideas about her. Obviously, Bu Fian still had some ideas, but she was too shy to show them. Wang Haoren had a rough idea of Bu Fian's thoughts after getting to the bottom of the matter. Lin Tian had been turned into ashes, and the chaos bottle had been obtained. Wang Haoren had achieved the purpose of this trip. It was time to leave the village. However, Wang Haoren wanted to take Yang Zhixiao with him, so he stayed at Yang Zhixiao's house for one more day. After Yang Zhixiao's parents came back, Wang Haoren proposed to take Yang Zhixiao to the city. The reason was very simple and crude. That was, he liked Yang Zhixiao. Yang Zhixiao's parents were greedy and snobbish. In Lin Tian's main plot, they were the stumbling blocks that prevented Lin Tian and Yang Zhixiao from being together. Yang Zhixiao's parents naturally objected at first, but after Wang Haoren gave them a check of 10 million yuan, all the problems were solved. After the matter was settled, Wang Haoren drove Ji Shuiao's Porsche back to the city with Bu Fian and Yang Zhixiao. When they arrived at the villa area, Wang Haoren first sent Bu Fian back to Lu Yu's villa, and then took Yang Zhixiao back to his villa. Wang Haoren's villa was very lively now. Feng Xuansu, Ning Aoxue, Feng Anna, Feng Anhui, Qin Baobao, and Yun Churen all lived here. Now, there was one more guest, Yang Zhixiao. Yang Zhixiao had lived in the countryside for a long time. She was very nervous when she first arrived. Husband, is she also our sister? Feng Xuansu looked at this simple and adorable girl and asked curiously, My wife is really smart. Wang Haoren praised with a smile. Does she know about all those things? Feng Xuansu asked. Got it. Wang Haoren nodded. Congratulations, husband. Feng Xuansu congratulated her and then walked to Yang Zhixiao with a smile. She took her hand and introduced herself. Hello, my name is Feng Xuansu. I'm also my husband's concubine. Yang Zhixiao was shocked by Feng Xuansu's appearance. After a long time, she came to her senses and said nervously, Hi, hello, my name is Yang Zhixiao. Don't be afraid. This will be your home in the future. Ning Aoxue also came over and expressed her friendliness to this new sister. Yang Zhixiao nodded to Ning Aoxue with a smile, and then looked at Feng Anna and others. However, they did not stand on the same level as Feng Xuansu and Ning Aoxue and greet Yang Zhixiao warmly. They were still very clear about their identities. As maids, how could their status be the same as that of the mistress? Feng Anna took the lead to come over and greet the new mistress. The others followed her. Yang Zhixiao was a little scared. She hurriedly returned the greeting and told them not to treat her like that in the future and to treat her as an equal. Yang Zhixiao's behavior also made Feng Anna and others like her much more. In fact, although Feng Anna and others were maids, Feng Xuansu and Ning Aoxue usually got along with them and also treated them as good sisters. There was no difference at all. After they got to know each other, Feng Xuansu and others took Yang Zhixiao to familiarize herself with the environment here. Wang Haoren was temporarily free, but after a while, Qiu Qianwei called and asked him to have dinner as usual. Wang Haoren still owed Bu Fian an explanation. Since he wanted to go there, he naturally agreed directly. When it was close to evening, Wang Haoren came to Lu Yu's villa as promised. Qiu Qianwei and others were busy in the kitchen. After Wang Haoren arrived, he directly called Bu Fian out and then went to the fourth room with her. Are you going to talk to me? I'm listening. You can start now. Seeing Wang Haoren's actions, Bu Fian had already guessed that he was going to explain the strange things he had done in the countryside. However, to Bu Fian's surprise, Wang Haoren did not play by the rules at all. As soon as Bu Fian finished speaking, her mouth was covered. Bu Fian was shocked. Out of the killer's instinct, she habitually wanted to restrain Wang Haoren. However, the love in her heart drove her to suppress this instinct. Bu Fian went from resisting at first to passively accepting and then to actively cooperating. However, just when Bu Fian lost herself, Wang Haoren suddenly let go of her. The warmth on her lips dissipated. Bu Fian felt a sense of loss. However, this was quickly followed by embarrassment and anger. Though, how can you do this? What if Wei Wei finds out about this? Didn't you ask me to say it? I'll say it now. Actually, I've liked you for a long time. You like me too, right? Wang Haoren said. I didn't ask you to say this. Besides, I don't like you. Don't spout nonsense. Bu Fian denied it. However, Before she could finish, she suddenly fell silent. Her mouth was gagged, and she could not speak. After a long time, Bufian finally regained the ability to speak. I really can't be a human anymore. Bufian did not even have the courage to lie. She only hated herself for not being able to push him away. Instead, she gradually took the initiative. You admit it now, Wang Haoran asked with a smile. So what if I admit it? I don't want to hurt Wei Wei. Do you want to hurt her? If that's the case, I won't let you off, Bufian said. I didn't say I wanted to hurt her. We can have the best of both worlds, Wang Haoran said. Bufian was shocked. Then, she said, I don't have any objections, but how can Wei Wei agree to this? Why don't you ask her? Wang Haoran smiled. Suddenly, he said to the door, Have you heard enough? Bufian was stunned. She looked over instinctively. The door was pushed open, and her 6 sisters swarmed in. Bufian's eyes widened. She wanted to dig a hole and hide in it. She blamed herself for being an assassin. How could she not notice that someone was eavesdropping at the door? However, it was all this guy's fault. If he had not messed up her thoughts, she would have noticed it long ago. Bufian prepared herself for judgment. However, to her surprise, Qiu Qianwei walked over with a smile. She grabbed her hand and said, Fourth sister, I don't have any objections. I agree. Huh? Bufian thought she had misheard. I said, I don't object to the two of you being together, Qiu Qianwei emphasized. Seventh sister, how can you agree to this? Bufian was stunned. I've already accepted eldest sister, second sister, third sister, fifth sister, and sixth sister. I can't possibly reject you, fourth sister, right? Qiu Qianwei said. What? Bufian was shocked. Chapter 650. Fourth sister, you didn't hear wrong. You're the only one who doesn't know. Qiu Qianwei said again when she saw Bufian making a fuss. This? Bufian didn't know what to say. I know you're very surprised. To be honest, I'm also very surprised. I didn't expect my boyfriend to be so capable. He wiped out our entire family, Qiu Qianwei said to Bufian. She couldn't help but cast a coquettish glance at Wang Haoran. Bufian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She looked at Wang Haoran and said coldly, Can you handle it? You're worrying too much. Wang Haoran smiled and asked Tantai Yaoyue, Did you tell them about that matter? You didn't tell me. How could I tell them? Tantai Yaoyue replied. Since everyone is here, tell them about that matter, Wang Haoran said and brought Tantai Yaoyue and the others into the heaven-splitting pagoda. Tantai Yaoyue was the only one who was slightly calmer. Qiu Qianwei and the others were so shocked that they couldn't speak. Tantai Yaoyue nodded at Wang Haoran and told her sisters about the reincarnation of an immortal emperor. Qiu Qianwei and the others were so shocked that they couldn't speak for a long time. However, they all felt that there was no other explanation for Wang Haoran's strange encounters other than the fate of their previous lives. Naturally, everyone accepted it. Then, one after another, they began to yearn for immortal cultivation. However, Qiu Qianwei and the others didn't fight for it. Instead, they gave this opportunity to Bufian. After all, she was the last to know about it. She had been kept in the dark all this time. Who knew how much she had suffered in secret? Moreover, only Bufian had a shallow relationship with Wang Haoran. The others had a deep relationship with Wang Haoran. Qiu Qianwei and the others left for the time being, leaving Wang Haoran and Bufian alone. Wang Haoran repeated what he told Yang Zhixia to Bufian. Bufian finally understood that Wang Haoran had gone to the village for the lost treasure. After that, some words seemed unnecessary. Actions were the best expression. For the next 3 days, Wang Haoran stayed in Lu Yu's villa. It was so preposterous that he didn't even know what the world was. Wang Haoran's wish was fulfilled, and he completed Lin Qin's ultimate goal in the main storyline. Wang Haoran's cultivation was also increasing day by day. With the addition of absorbing the spiritual qi of the fleece flower, it was only a matter of time before he entered the foundation establishment stage. However, at that moment, Xiao Wanwan suddenly contacted Wang Haoran. Guyuro was in trouble again. When Wang Haoran heard this, he felt a headache coming on. The female lead role was simply too troublesome. Problems came one after another. However, this time, Wang Haoran didn't intend to deal with it personally. he didn't cultivate previously, so he squeezed out some time to deal with Guyuro's matter. Now that he was very busy, he might as well cultivate if he had the spare time. Of course, he still had to take care of Guyuro. After all, he had put in so much effort. If he gave up halfway, all his previous efforts would be in vain. After Wang Haoran received Xiao Wanwan's message, he went to see her. Ever since Xiao Wanwan was assigned the task of keeping an eye on Guyuro's movements, she had been cautious and conscientious. Wang Haoran took this opportunity to comfort her. At the same time, he told Xiao Wanwan the reason why he was the reincarnation of the immortal emperor. After that, naturally, the things that were supposed to happen happened. Xiao Wanwan's cultivation also improved a lot. Wang Haoran asked Xiao Wanwan to deal with Guyuro's trouble on his behalf. When Xiao Wanwan thought that Wang Haoran was the ancestor, she was respectful and reverent. Now that she knew that he was the immortal emperor, she was even more terrified and naturally accepted the order respectfully. After Wang Haoran arranged things, he spent a few more days devouring all the remaining people who participated in the hunt for the fleece flower. At this moment, Wang Haoran's spiritual energy was abundant to an extremely terrifying extent. Wang Haoran copied Yi Fan's memory and was more familiar with the process of entering the foundation establishment stage from the Qi refinement stage. Using Yi Fan's experience, Wang Haoran successfully entered the foundation establishment stage. His cultivation and strength had also undergone a qualitative change. Wang Haoran could clearly feel that there was a vigorous and vast power in his every movement. Suddenly, he felt like he was invincible in the world. However, this inflated heart was quickly suppressed by Wang Haoran. Many villains thought that they were too powerful and inflated their egos. Then, they were careless and killed by the protagonist. Wang Haoran would not make this kind of mistake. Although the foundation establishment stage was strong, there were still many stages above it. After Wang Haoran's inflated ego for a while, he quickly calmed down and decided to continue his low-key and steady style. At this moment, Wang Haoran received a call from his distant cousin, Zhenwei. Cousin, I recently discovered a super beautiful girl in Shanghai. She's not inferior to Qin Yunhan at all. Do you want to come and have a taste of her? After the call connected, Zhenwei's vulgar voice sounded. Zhenwei was studying at a third-rate university in Shanghai. More than a month ago, Wang Haoran met Zhenwei at Zhen Li's birthday party. At that time, Zhenwei said that if he met an especially beautiful girl in Shanghai, he should contact Wang Haoran. Now that more than a month had passed, Wang Haoran would have almost forgotten about this matter if Zhenwei hadn't called. Is that so? What's the identity of this woman? Wang Haoran asked. She's the eldest daughter of a business family in Shanghai. She's also the daughter of a rich family. Her family background is no less than Qin Yunhan's, Zhenwei said. However, she's a few years older than Qin Yunhan. She's now 21 and has just taken over the family business. She's already on the news here. Everyone calls her the youngest and most capable, beautiful president in Shanghai. When Wang Haoran heard this, he was immediately interested. From Zhenwei's description, this beauty was very likely to be a female lead. The beautiful president character was almost a standard template for a female lead. Tang Bingyan was one of them. Now there was another one. The appearance of a female lead would definitely be accompanied by the protagonist. With this thought in mind, Wang Haoran asked again, did anything special happen to this beautiful president? Special things? Does being assassinated count? Zhenwei said. Nonsense, of course it counts. Hurry up and tell me what happened, Wang Haoran urged. Just the day before yesterday, she attended the opening ceremony of a company under the group. A killer wanted to kill her, but fortunately, it was a close call. This matter was also on the news of all the major media in Shanghai. The storm was quite big, Zhenwei said. Wang Haoran wasn't surprised at all by the result. He just asked, what's the matter? He just asked. Then, did this beautiful president hire bodyguards after this incident? For example, those who look rustic, like country bumpkins, or those who came back from overseas with retired backgrounds. Chapter 651. I did hire a lot of bodyguards, but I heard that they were all hired by professional organizations. They're not from the countryside. I don't know if they are from overseas. Zhen Wei replied. Wang Hao nodded and guessed that the plot of the protagonist had not officially started yet. By the way, how did the beautiful president get out of danger? Wang Hao wanted to know more details, so he asked again. According to the news report, the assassin died suddenly. Otherwise, the beauty might have died. Zhen Wei replied. Wang Hao was skeptical about this statement. The report might not be true. If it was true, it could only be that the beautiful president's heroine aura activated and jinxed the assassin to death. Otherwise, why did he have to die when the assassination was about to succeed? Hey, since it is so dangerous to be around the beautiful president, why did you ask me to court her? What the hell are you thinking? Wang Hao suddenly realized a problem. Cousin, I am sincere to you. Heaven and earth can be my witness. I really have no intention of harming you. I just want to tell you that there's a super beauty here. But speaking of which, it is a little dangerous to be around the beautiful president. Cousin, you should not come. Zhen Wei hurriedly explained. Send me the photo first. Let me have a look. Wang Hao had not decided whether to go to Shanghai or not. Okay. Zhen Wei responded and kept the call. He sent the photo posted in the online news report to Wang Hao. After Wang Hao received the notification, he opened it and checked it. He was stunned for a long time. He had seen a lot of female protagonists, including Tantai Yaoyue, Feng Xuansu, and Feng Yuruo. He had even experienced things that the protagonist had never experienced. Therefore, Wang Hao's resistance to beautiful women was still very high. Although this beauty was very beautiful, she was still a little inferior to Feng Yuruo and the other female protagonists. What surprised Wang Hao was naturally not the beauty of this beauty. This was because Wang Hao found this beauty's appearance very familiar. The sense of familiarity did not come from his own memory, but from a memory of the profound heaven immortal highness, Yi Fan. In Yi Fan's previous life, this beautiful CEO fell in love with Yi Fan because of a cliché plot where he saved the damsel in distress. However, Yi Fan was only interested in Feng Yuruo and did not care about other women. The infatuation of this beautiful CEO could only be wasted. Furthermore, because Yi Fan had offended someone, this beautiful CEO had helped Yi Fan get out of trouble. But in the end, she had been implicated. In the end, the beautiful CEO was disfigured and burned alive. Although Yi Fan grew stronger and took revenge for this beautiful CEO, he was unable to save her life. This beautiful CEO was called Qin Huaiming, and she was a very pitiful woman. From Zhen Wei's description, Wang Hao thought that she was the female lead, but in reality, she was a supporting female character. A tragic supporting female lead. Almost all the supporting female characters in the plot of a single female protagonist were pitiful people. They had sacrificed so much for the protagonist, but in the end, they had such a miserable ending. Of course, this was what happened in Yi Fan's previous life. As expected, now that Yi Fan had been reborn, he should be going to solve these things in advance. However, Qin Huaiming would still be very pitiful, because Yi Fan had removed the hidden danger in advance, but he would not reciprocate Qin Huaiming's feelings. Yi Fan was determined to only want Feng Yuruo. Qin Huaiming was infatuated, but in exchange, she would only be lonely for the rest of her life. Perhaps she would have endless wealth and status. However, what she really wanted was not these. She only hoped that the person she liked would also like her and be together for the rest of her life. Even if her life was dull, she would still be very happy. Wang Hao flipped through Yi Fan's memories, looking for the part about Qin Huaiming. He could not help but pity this supporting female lead, and for a moment, he felt sad. This Yi Fan actually had the heart to let such a good woman down? After sighing for a while, Wang Hao decided to give Qin Huaiming a home and let her live a happy life. From the timeline of his previous life, Qin Huaiming had not met Yi Fan yet. However, after copying Yi Fan's memories, Wang Hao understood Yi Fan's way of doing things very well. Yi Fan also felt that he owed Qin Huaiming a lot and would definitely make it up to her in this life. The strange things that happened to Qin Huaiming were very likely because Yi Fan had gone to Shanghai. The assassin who tried to assassinate Qin Huaiming but suddenly died not because of the female lead halo, but because of Yi Fan's help in the dark. Wang Haoren guessed that Yi Fan did not want Qin Huaiming's tragedy to happen. Other than removing the hidden danger that threatened Qin Huaiming, he also did not want Qin Huaiming to like him. Yi Fan's help in the dark was the best proof. However, Wang Haoren, who knew the plot well, knew that this was not something that Yi Fan could control at all. Instead, it was the stupid author who created the novel world with Yi Fan as the main character. Even if Yi Fan deliberately avoided meeting Qin Huaiming, under the various coincidences created by the stupid author, Qin Huaiming would meet Yi Fan sooner or later. Later on, she would find out that the person who had been helping her was Yi Fan, and thus fall in love with him. However, Yi Fan's plot had a single female lead, and he only loved Feng Yuruo. According to the plot, Qin Huaiming would eventually be alone for the rest of her life. Fortunately, Qin Huaiming would find out about this much later. Yi Fan had appeared in Hong Kong Island previously, and originally wanted to break through Hong Kong Island's map, but he was stopped by Wang Haoren. Now that he was going to Shanghai, it would only take about 10 days. In such a short time, there was a limit to what Yi Fan could do. Qin Huaiming probably had not met Yi Fan yet, and she did not even know who Yi Fan was. After sorting out all these, Wang Haoren decided to make a trip to Shanghai as soon as possible. However, the journey to Shanghai was long, and Wang Haoren did not plan to go alone. Just like the last time he went to Hong Kong Island, he would bring someone along. Moreover, Wang Haoren already had a candidate in mind. The students of Qingling University were on vacation. Previously, when Wang Haoren was busy with work, Qin Yunhan and Su Muyin had called him many times to play games. However, he was too busy, so he did not agree. Wang Haoren contacted Qin Yunhan, Su Muyin, Mu Zhaozhao, Wen Jing, and Yu Shiqing, and suggested that they go shopping in Shanghai. Qin Yunhan and the others were quite enthusiastic about traveling. Otherwise, they would not have taken the cruise ship overseas together last time. Moreover, the person who invited them was Wang Haoren. Qin Yunhan and the others naturally agreed. After the discussion, Wang Haoren wanted to set off as soon as possible. However, the tickets from Qingling to Shanghai were all sold out in the next few days, but this was not a big problem. Previously, when they went to Hong Kong Island, Feng Anna had already provided a plan. Wang Haoren directly booked a commercial plane and embarked on the journey to Shanghai with Qin Yunhan and the others. Chapter 652. In the cabin of the plane, Qin Yunhan and the others were discussing how to have fun and shop in Shanghai. Among them, Qin Yunhan was the most enthusiastic. As the daughter of a rich family, she never worried about money. She bought whatever she wanted. Next, Su Muyin spoke the most. After she became an online game streamer, she also made a lot of money. She didn't need to worry about money. Mu Zhaozhao came from a good family, but she wasn't interested in buying cosmetics and clothes. She was particularly interested in eating. Yu Shiqing and Wen Jing were from ordinary families, so he had only heard about them from them. The two of them were just carrying each other and wanted to take a stroll in Shanghai. They didn't want to buy anything. After all, they couldn't afford it. Wang Haoren flipped through all the details about Qin Huaiming in Yi Fan's memory. He wanted to know more about Qin Huaiming so that it would be easier for him to attack. Therefore, he didn't say anything. However, the girls' hearts were all on him. Even if he didn't say anything, he would still be noticed. Hey, Wang Haoren, what are you thinking about? Why aren't you saying anything? Mu Zhaozhao jumped in front of him, waved her hand in front of his eyes, and asked curiously. Wang Haoren only felt that his vision was occupied by two shocking things. He immediately came back to his senses. I'm thinking, what did you eat when you were growing up? Of course, Wang Haoren couldn't say what was on his mind. So, he took the opportunity to change the topic. You're so annoying. Mu Zhaozhao was stunned for a moment. Then, she reacted and patted Wang Haoren lightly. This girl must have secretly eaten a lot of papaya milk when she was puberty. She never admitted it. Qin Yunhan interrupted. Sister Yunhan, how many times have I said it? I really didn't drink it. I think it's too cumbersome. If I could share some with you, I would definitely share it with you. Mu Zhaozhao said gloomily. Stupid girl, what are you talking about? I have a perfect body. Why do I need you to share it with me? Who are you looking down on? Qin Yunhan was anxious. That's not right. Didn't you always ask me to share some with you? Mu Zhao Zhao said subconsciously. You. Fortunately, the plane windows can't be opened. Otherwise, I would definitely throw you out. Qin Yunhan was angry with her best friend. Su Mayan listens from the side, laughing so hard that she trembles. Yu Shiqing and Wen Jing couldn't help but snicker. Sister Yunhan, don't feel inferior. You are quite standard, and it seems that you have a second pregnancy. You are really excellent now. Mu Zhao Zhao said with a smile. She inadvertently glanced at Wang Haoran. Of course, she knew that Qin Yunhan's change was due to someone. Qin Yunhan's face finally looked better when she heard it. But the next moment, Qin Yunhan was furious. This was because Mu Zhao Zhao had compared the girls in the field and suddenly said, "You're right. Hey, Sister Yunhan, you seem to be the youngest here. I'm going to strangle you to death." Qin Yunhan suddenly went crazy. She bared her fangs and brandished her claws at Mu Zhao Zhao. The two fought for a while before they stopped. Wang Haoran, why did you take so long off? What did you do? Mu Zhao Zhao asked doubtfully after she caught her breath. Hearing this, Qin Yunhan, Su Muyin, Yu Shiqing, and Wen Jing all looked at Wang Haoran. Not only Mu Zhao Zhao felt strange, but they also felt strange and wanted to know the reason. Yunhan, Muyin, come here. Wang Haoran didn't respond to Mu Zhao Zhao's question first. Qin Yunhan and Su Muyin looked at each other. They didn't know what he meant, but they still came to Wang Haoran's side. Wang Haoran reached out and hugged the two of them for both sides. Qin Yunhan and Su Muyin were both surprised. In fact, the two of them were not very willing to show their relationship with Wang Haoran in front of others, because as far as they were concerned, this was something that caused them to lose face. After all, both of them were so beautiful. It would be very humble to stick to the same person at the same time. However, out of love for Wang Haoran, she didn't break away from Wang Haoran's hand. She just felt very shy and lowered her head. Mu Zhao Zhao had known about Wang Haoran and Qin Yunhan for a long time, but she didn't know that Su Muyin was also one of them. The scene in front of her made her very surprised. Wen Jing, on the other hand, was very calm. She always thought that the boy she liked was the best in the world. It wasn't strange for him to pursue beautiful girls. It was normal for him to have 8 or 10 girlfriends. Seeing this scene, Yu Shiqing's pretty face turned pale. Why? Am I not good enough? Yu Shiqing was stunned for a long time and said in a choked voice. Qin Yunhan and Su Muyin lowered their heads and didn't speak. When they heard Yu Shiqing's voice, they curiously raised their heads and looked at her. Both of them were girls, so they knew what girls were thinking. From Yu Shiqing's words and expression at this moment, they had already guessed a lot of things. No, you're very good. Wang Haoran looked at Yu Shiqing and said. Then Yu Shiqing's heart ached. Do you think I'm bad? Wang Haoran asked. Yu Shiqing didn't say anything, but her silent expression was already an answer. Su Muyin and Qin Yunhan also stared at Wang Haoran coldly and wanted to scold him. Because this guy was really too much. I know you must be very angry, but this is fate between me and you. In your current living environment, I'm indeed very bad, but if you look at it from another perspective, you won't think so. Wang Haoran said slowly. In fact, I'm the reincarnation of the immortal emperor, and you are my lost concubines. Do you think we're 3-year-old children? Do you think we'll? Su Muyin questioned. However, before she finished her words, she found that the surrounding scenery had changed. They were clearly in the plain before, but now they were in a building, which looked like a tower. Wang Haoran let go of Qin Yunhan and Su Muyin. With a wave of his hand, some images appeared in front of him out of thin air. These images were exactly the same as what Yang Zhixia saw. When the images ended, Wang Haoran told Qin Yunhan and the others what he said to Yang Zhixia at that time. After Qin Yunhan and the others heard it, it took them a long time to come back to their senses. However, they didn't doubt Wang Haoran's words at all. Now, do you still think I'm bad? Wang Haoran asked everyone shamelessly. After Qin Yunhan, Su Muyin, and Yu Shiqing's horizons were broadened, their thoughts naturally changed. They all shook their heads and expressed their opinions. They were very glad that they didn't scold him just now. Otherwise, they would have sinned a lot. Was I also your concubine in my previous life? Mu Zhao Zhao was still a little confused and wasn't sure if she was one of them. Chapter 653. If you weren't, I wouldn't have let you enter the immortal Emperor Pagoda. Wang Haoran smiled. So I'm one too. When Jing didn't say anything, she thought she was just a bystander. When she heard Wang Haoran's words, she couldn't help but feel happy. Of course. Wang Haoran nodded. Since you're the reincarnation of an immortal emperor, you must know how to cultivate. Teach me. I want to cultivate. That way, I can play games all night. Qin Yunhan's mood had changed, and she had become unusually active. Hearing this, Wang Haoran's expression couldn't help but become a little strange. Qin Yunhan had the attributes of an internet addict. Although she was terrible at playing games, she still liked to play. Wang Haoran was really a little speechless about this. However, Qin Yunhan's words reminded Wang Haoran. After saying so much, it was time to enter the formal process. The book said that learning was like sailing against the current. If you don't move forward, you'll fall back. The same principle applied to cultivation. Otherwise, he wouldn't have brought Qin Yunhan and the others along with him to Shanghai. Did they really think they were going to Shanghai to shop and see the scenery? Since I'm telling you all this, I naturally plan to teach you. Wang Haoran said to Qin Yunhan seriously. I want to learn too. Su Muyin was also excited. Okay, then you two stay. I'll teach you first. Wang Haoran said to Qin Yunhan and Su Muyin. Can't you teach us together? Mu Zhao Zhao was very curious, so she couldn't help but ask. This is your first time coming into contact with cultivation. You need time to adapt. When you're more familiar with it, I'll teach all 5 of you at the same time. Wang Haoran said seriously. Is that so? Okay. Mu Zhao Zhao nodded. You sure, Qing, and when Jing naturally didn't have any objections. Wang Haoran waved his hand, and the 3 of them appeared in the cabin of the plane. Only Su Muyin and Qin Yunhan were left in the heaven-splitting tower. Mu Zhao Zhao and the other 2 waited outside for about an hour before they saw Wang Haoran, Qin Yunhan, and Su Muyin appear in the cabin. Sister Yunhan, is cultivation fun? Is it difficult? Mu Zhao Zhao asked curiously like a curious baby. It's fun. It's really fun. And it's not difficult at all. It's very simple. Qin Yunhan said half-jokingly. Really? Then hurry up and teach me. I want to learn too. Mu Zhao Zhao impatiently said to Wang Haoran. Look, Zhao Zhao is so eager to learn. You should teach her. Qin Yunhan was very enthusiastic and spoke up for her best friend. After that, she said to Wang Haoran, I didn't hear it very clearly just now. I want to hear it again. But don't worry, you won't disturb us. You'll just listen. Wang Haoran looked at Qin Yunhan strangely. He knew that she wanted to see Mu Zhao Zhao's embarrassed appearance. Who asked Mu Zhao Zhao to be so blunt and expose her shortcomings? Wang Haoran didn't object to this. Wang Haoran, Mu Zhao Zhao, and Qin Yunhan entered the heaven-splitting tower together. When the 3 of them came out of the heaven-splitting tower, the plane had already landed at an airport somewhere in Shanghai. Mu Zhao Zhao, who was originally lively, became a lady. Qin Yunhan glanced at her from time to time, as if she was recalling something, and laughed from time to time. Mu Zhao Zhao's face turned red. You sure, Qin? And when Jing saw this scene and didn't know what was going on, they asked for the reason. Qin Yunhan smiled, but didn't answer. Mu Zhao Zhao was too embarrassed to say. Su Muyin wasn't a talkative person. Wang Haoran wanted to explain to you Shi Qing and Wen Jing, but now that they were in Shanghai, he could only put it aside for the time being. He should stay in Shanghai for a while, so he didn't need to be in a hurry. What's more, he had important things to do. After leaving the airport, Wang Haoran and the others found a nearby 5-star hotel to stay. Then, Qin Yunhan suggested that they go shopping. Wang Haoran had other things to do, so he naturally didn't go with them. He just gave them one of his cards. There were hundreds of millions on that card, and it was enough for them to spend. Qin Yunhan and the others didn't stand on ceremony and accepted it happily. In ancient times, didn't the emperors reward their favorite concubines with all kinds of jewelry and the like? Qin Yunhan understood Wang Haoran's action. Of course, he spent the money with a clear conscience. Of course, after receiving the reward, Qin Yunhan and the others still had to express their gratitude. They lined up and each gave him a kiss. Then, they left the hotel and went to the nearest shopping center to buy things. Qin Yunhan's group of 5 were all beautiful, and they were quite eye-catching when gathered together. However, Wang Haoran wasn't worried. Qin Yunhan, Su Muyin, and Mu Zhaozhao had all cultivated for a while, and they were no longer weak women. They had a certain level of strength, so they naturally wouldn't be afraid of ordinary hooligans. Moreover, if there was an emergency, they could contact him. Wang Haoran wasn't worried about them, and he could focus on his own things. With Yi Fan's memory, Wang Haoran knew some things about Qin Huaiming. At this time, Qin Huaiming had just taken over the family business, and many people had their eyes on him. The Qin family was a business family in Shanghai, and their family business covered many fields. They were one of the giants in Shanghai. However, in a prosperous city like Shanghai, there were a few giants similar to the Qin family. In his previous life, Yi Fan offended the young master of the Bai family in Shanghai, and that was why he got revenge. Qin Huaiming ignored his family's objections and insisted on helping Yi Fan solve the problem. In the end, he ended up in a pitiful state. At this time, Qin Huaiming had just taken over a core company of the Qin family, and he had a lot of things to take care of. If he went to this company, he would most likely be able to see Qin Huaiming. After Wang Haoran left the hotel, he went straight to the company that Qin Huaiming had taken over. Not long after, Wang Haoran arrived at a tall office building. In Shanghai, it was rare for a company to own an office building with more than 10 floors. Because it was located in such a prosperous area, even the rent for one floor was frighteningly high, not to mention buying an office building. However, the Qin family was such an existence. Moreover, the Qin family had more than one office building like this. When Wang Haoran arrived at the office building, he didn't go in immediately. Instead, he used his X-ray vision to search for Qin Huaiming's figure. In the end, he found Qin Huaiming in the parking lot on the 2nd floor. Although she was a supporting female character, Qin Huaiming's looks, figure, and aura were not inferior to the female lead. She wasn't inferior to Tang Bingyun, who was also a beautiful CEO. Qin Huaiming was talking to his secretary as he was escorted by 8 bodyguards to a car in the parking lot. It seemed that he was in a hurry to discuss some business. However, Wang Haoran felt that Qin Huaiming was probably going to be late. This was because Wang Haoran found a suspicious person with a weapon in the parking lot. It was obvious that this person was after Qin Huaiming. Although it was only one person, Wang Haoran could tell that this person was not simple. Qin Huaiming's bodyguards definitely wouldn't be able to handle it. Qin Huaiming was in danger. Chapter 654. When Wang Haoran saw this, he couldn't help but worry for the poor supporting female character. However, this worry didn't last for more than a second. It quickly disappeared. Although Qin Huaiming was a supporting female character, she was an important supporting female character. She definitely wouldn't die so easily. If something really happened to her, how could Yi Fan's plot continue? After his rebirth, Yi Fan made up for his regrets. What happened to Qin Huaiming in his previous life was one of his regrets. Thinking of this, Wang Haoran continued to scan the office building with his X-ray vision. As expected, he found Yi Fan's figure. Looking at Yi Fan's movements, it was obvious that he was approaching Qin Huaiming. Qin Huaiming's seemingly dangerous situation was completely set up for Yi Fan to show off. Wang Haoran only watched and didn't do anything to stop it, because he had already guessed Yi Fan's thoughts. Yi Fan would help Qin Huaiming, but he wouldn't take the initiative to get to know Qin Huaiming. Wang Haoran quietly watched the situation unfold. Qin Huaiming was about to get into a business car under the protection of her bodyguards. However, at this moment, one of the killers who had been lying in ambush took out a weapon and tried to attack Qin Huaiming. A bang broke the silence of the underground parking lot. However, that attack didn't hit Qin Huaiming. It missed. When Wang Haoran saw this, he couldn't help but complain. What kind of bullsh**T killer was this? How could he miss? However, one could not blame the assassin. It was purely Yi Fan's plot that was set up in such a way. Hearing the sound, The 8 well-trained bodyguards immediately determined the killer's position. 6 of them immediately took out their weapons to fight back. The other 2 covered Qin Huaiming's retreat. The female secretary beside Qin Huaiming screamed in fright. As for Qin Huaiming herself, she didn't lose control and scream. However, her face was extremely pale, indicating that she was panicking. Both sides took out their weapons and fought for a while. Almost all of them were brushing past each other. In the end, the killer rushed out and chased after Qin Huaiming with a sharp weapon. The 6 bodyguards went up to meet him. In less than 10 seconds, the 6 well-trained bodyguards were all dead. The other 2 bodyguards protecting Qin Huaiming were afraid that there would be other killers, so they were very careful when they retreated. The 2 bodyguards escorted Qin Huaiming to the elevator in the underground parking lot. However, the elevator was on another floor, and it wouldn't be able to go down for a while. After the assassin dealt with the 6 bodyguards, he successfully caught up to Qin Huaiming and the others. The 2 bodyguards wanted to attack with their weapons, but the killer threw out the 2 sharp weapons on his body. The remaining 2 bodyguards also died on the spot. When the female secretary saw this, she fainted from fright. Qin Huaiming was wearing high heels. After running a few steps, she fell to the ground and couldn't stand up for a moment. His face was incomparably pale. Fear, unwillingness, and anger appeared on his face, but in the end, it all turned into helplessness. The assassin was expressionless as he pulled out a sharp weapon from the body of the bodyguard on the ground, preparing to take Qin Huaiming's life. At this moment, Yifan had just arrived. The assassin had just raised his weapon, but before he could make a move, he suddenly fell to the ground. His life force was completely gone, and he was dead. It wasn't too early or too late. It was just right. Wang Haoren saw this scene from afar with his X-ray vision and secretly complained. As the assassin fell to the ground, Yifan, who had completely covered his face, was also reflected in Qin Huaiming's eyes. Qin Huaiming walked around the gates of hell for a long time before she came to her senses. After dealing with the assassin, Yifan didn't say anything. He just looked at Qin Huaiming for a while, as if he was reminiscing about the past, and then turned to leave. "Wait!" Qin Huaiming stopped him and hurriedly asked, "Thank you for saving me. Can you tell me who you are? I just happened to pass by. You don't need to know who I am." Yifan turned around and said in a hoarse voice, "But you saved me. I have to repay you." Qin Huaiming insisted. "You don't have to repay me," Yifan said. After a moment of silence, he said, "This is what I owe you." "You owe me?" Qin Huaiming tried to figure out what he meant and asked, "So we know each other. Who are you?" Yifan was silent. He didn't answer the question and turned to leave. Qin Huaiming was filled with confusion. He really wanted to know who the person who had saved him was. He wanted to get up and give chase, but when he fell down, he sprained his ankle. He didn't chase for more than a few steps before he fell down again. The pain made him suck in a breath of cold air. Yifan heard the movement behind him and paused. In the end, he didn't turn around and helped Qin Huaiming up. He had already decided not to get to know Qin Huaiming in this life, so he naturally wanted to keep a distance from her. Because his heart was completely occupied by Fan Yuruo, he couldn't give Qin Huaiming a future, so he naturally didn't want to provoke her. Yifan paused for a few seconds, then continued walking and soon left Qin Huaiming's field of vision. Qin Huaiming's beautiful eyes stared in the direction Yifan left in for a long time before she came back to her senses. Wang Haoren watched from afar and couldn't help but frown. Because there was something wrong with Qin Huaiming's gaze, there were surveillance cameras in the parking lot. After Yifan left, the company's bodyguards quickly came to take care of the aftermath. Qin Huaiming was in shock and even sprained her ankle. She was escorted to the hospital. Wang Haoren also pretended to be injured and went to the hospital to see a doctor, planning to have a chance encounter with Qin Huaiming. However, Qin Huaiming was protected and didn't let anyone get close. Wang Haoren and Qin Huaiming had only met once. But to Wang Haoren, one meeting was enough. He communicated with the system and immediately gave an order. Ding! The supporting female character's halo is too high and her heart belongs to someone. Intermediate charm halo has failed. Host can choose to spend 200,000 villain points to upgrade intermediate charm halo to advanced charm halo. Receiving the system's notification, Wong Howren couldn't help but feel gloomy. When he first met Feng Rao, he had encountered a similar situation. At that time, Charm Halo was only at the elementary level, and Feng Rao's supporting female character's halo was too high, so Wong Howren upgraded it to intermediate Charm Halo. But at that time, he didn't spend many villain points, so Wong Howren could accept it. But to upgrade it to advanced Charm Halo from intermediate Charm Halo to advanced Charm Halo, it was a bit too much. After all, he didn't even have 500,000 villain points now. Wong Howren temporarily gave up on the idea of upgrading the Charm Halo. Because of Wong Howren's appearance, Qin Huaiming was stunned for a moment. But very quickly, he didn't take it seriously and shifted his gaze away. Wong Howren couldn't help but sigh. Did Qin Huaiming's character really like the hero saving the damsel in distress? She didn't even see Yi Fan's face, and she fell in love with him. But thinking about it, Qin Huaiming, who thought she was going to die in such a dangerous situation, was actually saved. The impact on her heart was quite big. It seemed like he had miscalculated. If he knew this would happen, he would have gone to save Qin Huaiming himself. But things weren't that bad. Yi Fan didn't show up, so the person Qin Huaiming liked didn't have a specific image. In other words, this person could be Yi Fan, or it could be him. Chapter 655. It was out of Wong Howren's expectations that Qin Huaiming would fall in love with the person who saved her so quickly, but it wasn't a big problem. Wong Howren wanted Yi Fan to work for him so that he could win Qin Huaiming's heart. Qin Huaiming now had feelings for someone he didn't know, so he could pretend to be this person. Unknowingly, it could even speed up the progress of his plan. After all, the Super Peach Blossom Halo hadn't been triggered, and the Intermediate Charm Halo couldn't work on Qin Huaiming. If he wanted to pursue her with his own abilities, it would take a lot of effort and time. But with Yi Fan's help, it would be a different story. After thinking it through, Wong Howren didn't pretend to be sick anymore. He left the hospital and looked for a chance to get close to Qin Huaiming. Qin Huaiming was just a little shocked and sprained her ankle slightly. It wasn't a big deal. The second day after the incident, Qin Huaiming calmed down and sent someone he trusted to hire bodyguards at a high price. Although the assassin was dead, her danger wasn't really solved. Until now, she still didn't know who the mastermind was. Now that the assassin was dead, there might be another one. And her 8 bodyguards were all dead. She couldn't be left without someone to protect her. This time, Qin Huaiming raised the standard of the bodyguards by a lot. Previously, he only wanted the elites of a professional bodyguard company, but they couldn't resist at all. If it wasn't for the mysterious person who saved her, she would have died. So this time, he wanted the best bodyguards in the industry. Wong Howren had been watching Qin Huaiming's movements. After hearing this news, he suddenly had a good idea to get close to Qin Huaiming. With a great reward, there would be brave men. Although it was dangerous to be by Qin Huaiming's side, the pay was too high. There were many people at the bodyguard recruitment site, and none of them were simple. Among them, there were even bodyguards who had protected the richest man in the country, and a bodyguard who had protected an important minister. The competition was very fierce. Wong Howren forged an identity and went to the recruitment site. After going through several rounds of selection, Wong Howren crushed all the competitors in all aspects and was successfully selected. That evening, the secretary brought Wong Howren to Qin Huaiming's office and knocked on the door. "Come in." A faint voice came from the office. The female secretary pushed the door open and walked in with Wong Howren. At this moment, Qin's head was lowered as she looked at some documents on the table. She was dressed in a clean and tidy business suit, which perfectly accentuated her outstanding figure. Her delicate facial features were distributed on her oval-shaped face. No matter from which angle, it was pleasing to the eye. She was wearing a pair of eyes. His eyes were, of course, would be beautiful. However, his expression was slightly cold, and he did not seem easy to approach. However, Wong Howren knew that Qin Huaiming was someone who was cold on the outside but warm on the inside. SSSS. President Qin, this gentleman is the new bodyguard, the female secretary reported. Qin Huaiming was bent over his desk, reading some documents. When he heard the voice, he slowly raised his head, and his gaze landed on Wang Haoren. A trace of astonishment flashed through her beautiful eyes. This was because she had seen Wang Haoren at the hospital yesterday. Qin Huaiming was very busy and had to meet many people in a day. Not everyone could be remembered by her. However, this person was simply too good-looking. It was difficult for Qin Huaiming to forget him. Just one. Qin Huaiming quickly regained his senses and asked the female secretary. Recently, similar things had happened many times. 8 bodyguards couldn't protect her, let alone one. Of course, she couldn't help but worry. Moreover, Wang Haoren didn't look like a bodyguard because he was too handsome. That's what this gentleman requested. He only accepts individual protection for his employer. But in terms of ability, Chairman Qin, you can rest assured that I have already passed. There are a few international bodyguards who came to apply, but none of them are as good as this gentleman, the female secretary explained. Oh, Qin Huaiming's eyes lit up. She seemed to want to get to know this handsome new bodyguard. Seeing this, the female secretary handed over Wang Haoren's information to Qin Huaiming. Qin Huaiming took the information, checked it, and nodded with satisfaction. Wang Fan, Mr. Wang, right? I'll have to trouble you with my safety from now on, Qin Huaiming said politely. But I have to remind you that this job is very dangerous. Wang Haoren didn't use his real name. He only used his surname to borrow a name from Yi Fan. That was how Wang Fan came to be. Do you want to sign the contract? Wang Haoren asked expressionlessly. This was equivalent to telling Qin Huaiming that he wasn't afraid of danger. Seeing this, Qin Huaiming gestured for the secretary to take out the contract for Wang Haoren to read. Wang Haoren flipped to the last page of the contract and signed his name, Wang Fan. Can't you see it clearly? Aren't you afraid that your salary is too low? Qin Huaiming was shocked, because Wang Haoren's reaction was completely different from the other bodyguards she had seen before. That's not important. Wang Haoren maintained his expressionless face. He had no doubt learned this tone and expression from the Xian Tian, Celestial Lord. After all, he had decided to pretend to be Yi Fan. Although Yi Fan didn't show his face in front of Qin Huaiming, he had talked to Qin Huaiming before. Wang Haoren felt that he had to learn from Yi Fan's tone. You are applying for such a dangerous job. If you don't care about money, what do you care about? Qin Huaiming looked at him in confusion. Wang Haoren stared at Qin Huaiming for a while, then suddenly turned around and walked out of the door. After a few steps, he suddenly stopped and said lightly, "You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about that. You only need to know that with me protecting you, there won't be any danger from now on." Wang Haoren's figure was about the same as Yi Fan's. That tone and that back view naturally made Qin Huaiming think of something. After the incident in the parking lot yesterday, Qin Huaiming thought hard for a long time, but he couldn't think of anyone he knew. At this moment, Qin Huaiming couldn't help but associate the person who saved him yesterday with Wang Fan. But Qin Huaiming was very sure that he didn't know this Wang Fan before. But why did he say that he owed it to her? "I will wait outside the door. Call me if you need anything," Wang Haoren said coldly and prepared to leave the office. "Wait, I have something to ask you," Qin Huaiming called out to him. Wang Haoren stopped and turned around to look at her expressionlessly. Qin Huaiming didn't ask immediately. "Boss Qin, I will leave first." The female secretary understood and immediately left the office, closing the door behind her. Chapter 656. After the secretary left, Qin Huaiming stared at Wang Haoren, as if trying to see through him. "Have we met before?" "Yesterday at the hospital," Wang Haoren replied flatly. "I mean even earlier," Qin Huaiming corrected. Hearing this, Wang Haoren deliberately stared at Qin Huaiming for a while, a complicated look in his eyes. After a moment, he spat out 3 words. "I don't know you." Qin Huaiming saw this, but she couldn't figure out the emotions in his eyes, but she was sure that they knew each other before. But Qin Huaiming really couldn't remember seeing him before. Could it be that she had lost a part of her memory? Qin Huaiming thought to herself, but quickly rejected the idea. Her memory was complete, and she didn't feel like she was missing anything. Or could it be that he had mistaken her for someone else? With that thought, Qin Huaiming suddenly said, "My name is Qin Huaiming. I'm the eldest daughter of a Shanghai Qin clan. I'm 21 years old this year. I know all that. Wang Haoran interrupted her introduction. He knew all about Qin Huaiming's background and basic information. He even knew Qin Huaiming's measurements. Hearing this, Qin Huaiming was almost certain that he hadn't mistaken her for someone else. It seemed that he had come for her. Then, could it be that the person who had saved her yesterday was also him? With that thought, Qin Huaiming's heart couldn't help but beat faster. Nothing, I'll go stand guard outside, Wang Haoran said. Qin Huaiming nodded in response. Wang Haoran turned and walked outside, but before he opened the door, Qin Huaiming said tentatively, "Yesterday in the parking lot." "Thank you." Wang Haoran's hand froze in the middle of opening the door, and he didn't immediately reply. Qin Huaiming was nervous when he didn't reply. After a while, she heard Wang Haoran say, with a complicated tone, "You've got the wrong person." His voice was hoarse, almost exactly the same as Yifan's. With her X-ray vision, she could only see what was said, but not hear anything. This was an ability that Wang Haoran gained after he entered the Foundation establishment stage, and his sense of knowledge had undergone a qualitative change. Even if they were far apart, as long as he wanted to, he could hear what the other party was saying. As soon as he said that, Wang Haoran received a system message. Ding! The female supporting lead Qin Huaiming's favorability towards the host has increased to 60. Current favorability is 60. Adoration. Ding! The host has influenced the plot and obtained 3,000 villain points. Yifan's protagonist aura minus 150. The host's villain aura plus 150. Wang Haoran was secretly happy for a while, but he didn't show it on his face. He only tilted his head slightly to let Qin Huaiming see his handsome side profile, then opened the door and walked out. When Yifan spoke to Qin Huaiming, his attitude was very clear. He was unwilling to tell Qin Huaiming who he was. If Wang Haoran denied it, it would make Qin Huaiming even more convinced that he was the one who had saved her yesterday rather than admitting it. As a matter of fact, his choice was extremely correct. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been that message. With a slight click, the door of the office was closed. At this moment, only Qin Huaiming was left in the office. Qin Huaiming's snow-white face was flushed red because she was too excited, although Wang Fan didn't admit it. But the reaction he showed when he heard her question made her completely certain that Wang Fan was the one who had saved her yesterday. The only thing that puzzled Qin Huaiming was the reason why he had saved him. Qin Huaiming couldn't figure out why he had said that he owed her. But Qin Huaiming didn't give up. Although Wang Fan didn't admit it, he was protecting her now. There would be plenty of time in the future, and she would have plenty of opportunities to find out. Qin Huaiming let out a light breath. Due to the assassination attempt, she had been on edge recently. But now, she felt that her tense nerves had loosened up quite a bit, and she had an inexplicable sense of security. Qin Huaiming collected her emotions and quickly threw herself back into work. She was busy until 9 p.m. After work, as a bodyguard, Wang Haoran's job was to drive. He drove Qin Huaiming to a wealthy residential area not far from the company. Qin Huaiming had quite a few properties under her name. Because of the recent assassination, she had decided on where to stay at night. In the past, Qin Huaiming would never have chosen a place so close to the company. Even after the assassination, she hadn't thought of staying here. Because of this, there wasn't a single servant in the nearby villa. They had all been transferred away. This huge villa seemed empty. "I'll sleep in the second room on the right on the second floor. You can sleep wherever you want. There are many rooms here anyway," Qin Huaiming suddenly said as she led Wang Haoran into the villa. "Your previous bodyguard also lived in the same house as you?" Wang Haoran asked casually. "Of course not. They all kept watch outside the house at night. When they took turns to rest, they also slept on the floor in the guard booth outside," Qin Huaiming said. "So I'm special?" Wang Haoran stared into her eyes. Qin Huaiming averted her gaze. She couldn't help but feel a little flustered. But with her good mental fortitude, she quickly regained her composure. "You're alone. If you don't rest, you won't be able to protect me during the day. It doesn't matter if you keep watch or not. This villa has a security system. If there's any movement, you'll definitely know if I'm sleeping soundly. Qin Huaiming said. Then I'll sleep in the room next to yours. If there's any movement, I can protect you in time. Wang Haoran said lightly. Okay. Qin Huaiming's voice trembled slightly when she replied, revealing the nervousness in her heart. Chapter 657. Qin Huaiming's imagination ran wild as she looked forward to something. But not long after, the door was suddenly pushed open. She didn't have her guard up against Wang Haoran, so she naturally wouldn't lock the door. Qin Huaiming was pulled back to reality by the commotion. She saw Wang Haoran rushing towards her with a towel wrapped around his waist. When Qin Huaiming saw this, he subconsciously panicked as he thought of something. But she quickly realized that she was wrong. Wang Haoran was only walking towards the window and looking outside. Qin Huaiming could vaguely hear a few soft meows. It's a cat, Wang Haoran suddenly said. Qin Huaiming finally understood that he must have noticed the commotion and thought it was an assassin, so he barged in. She thought that he was going to, after figuring it out. Qin Huaiming heaved a sigh of relief. Then she looked at him. He was only wrapped in a towel, and his upper body was bare. The lines of his muscles were infinitely close to perfection. Qin Huaiming wasn't the least bit interested in muscular men, but the person in front of her had perfect muscle lines and was extremely beautiful. It was like a work of art. Qin Huaiming couldn't help but blush after looking at him a few times. Wang Haoran took in Qin Huaiming's expression. With his perception, he had already noticed that it was a cat. The reason he came over was to show off his figure. Looking at the light in Qin Huaiming's eyes, he knew that he had hit on her. So it's a cat. Scared, scare me to death. Qin Huaiming stared blankly for a while, then felt ashamed. She quickly looked away and pretended to be shocked as she patted her chest. You don't have to worry. I will solve this problem as soon as possible. Wang Haoran didn't leave immediately. The reason he suddenly came here wasn't purely to show off his figure, but to convey an important message to Qin Huaiming. From your tone, do you know who the mastermind is? Qin Huaiming was shocked. You must have thought about these questions yourself. Who do you think it is? Wang Haoran did not answer immediately. Instead, he asked a question of his own. The business world is very complicated. There are many people in Shanghai who have designs on the Qin clan, but if something happens to the Qin clan, the Bai clan will benefit the most. Qin Huaiming became serious. That's not hard to figure out, but do you really think that all the times you've been in danger, it's all because of the same mastermind? Wang Haoran said meaningfully. In his previous life, when Yifan took revenge for Qin Huaiming, he also knew the whole story. Since Yifan knew, Wang Haoran naturally knew as well. Actually, there were two groups of people who wanted to harm Qin Huaiming. What do you mean by that? Qin Huaiming was bewildered. What you said just now was only from the perspective of the family's interests. But have you ever thought about who would benefit the most if something happened to you? Wang Haoran guided her train of thought. Qin Huaiming was a smart person. After thinking about it for a while, her expression changed drastically. That's impossible. Mother is very kind and treats me well. She would never do something like that. Qin Huaiming frowned. One is her biological son, and the other is her daughter who is not related by blood. Who do you think she will consider more? Wang Haoran asked. The mother Qin Huaiming was referring to was her stepmother. Almost everyone in the Qin clan thought that Qin Huaiming's stepmother was a kind woman. Even Qin Huaiming himself thought so. But in reality, it was the opposite. She was a woman as venomous as a snake. When Qin Huaiming first encountered the assassins, it was indeed the Bai clan who ordered them. But after that, Qin Huaiming encountered more assassins, and not all of them were sent by the Bai clan. For example, the assassin in the parking lot was actually sent by Qin Huaiming's stepmother. But my brother is only 15 years old. Qin Huaiming's heart was already filled with doubts. Her heart clenched, but she didn't want to believe it. It was as if she was trying to find a reason to convince herself. Precisely because he's only 15 years old. When he's older and can take over the Qin clan, it will be at least a few years later. But by then, the Qin clan will have stabilized. It will be too late. Wang Haoran said. Qin Huaiming fell silent. For a moment, she didn't say anything. In her heart, she had already agreed with Wang Haoren's point of view. Her father was seriously ill and didn't have much time left. He couldn't handle the company's affairs. If something really happened to her, then the burden of the Qin clan would definitely fall on her brother's shoulders. Although her younger brother was still young, she was very capable as a stepmother and could take over this burden. It was just that her father had always been on guard against this young and delicate wife that he had married later on. That was why he had passed the burden of the Qin family to his first wife's daughter, Qin Huaiming. How do you know so much about my family? Did you investigate me? Qin Huaiming suddenly realized a problem. She looked at Wang Haoren with some fear. I mean you no harm, Wang Haoren declared. Qin Huaiming's expression softened. She also believed that this person in front of her had no ill intentions. Otherwise, he wouldn't have saved her. What kind of past do we have? Why can't you tell me? Qin Huaiming stared at Wang Haoren. I can only tell you that the trouble around you will be solved soon. Wang Haoren didn't answer her question. You have proof? Proof that it was my stepmother who hired the assassins? Qin Huaiming was shocked. Proof? I don't need that. Just wait and see. Wang Haoren laughed coldly. The Bai clan and Qin Huaiming's stepmother had hired assassins to kill Qin Huaiming one after another. If Yi Fan could still tolerate it, then he wouldn't be Yi Fan. He would definitely make a move soon. But as an immortal's supremacy, why would he follow the rules of the mortal world and find evidence to prove anything? He had his own way of doing things. The Bai clan and Qin Huaiming's stepmother would suffer. All Wang Haoren needed to do was to inform Qin Huaiming of this information in advance, and then wait for Yi Fan's results after he was done. I have to go out for a while, Wang Haoren said. It's so late. If the assassins come, Qin Huaiming was a little scared. Attack is the best defense. But don't worry. Although I'm leaving, I have other ways to protect you. Just rest well, Wang Haoren said. How are you going to protect me if you leave? Do you have a clone? Qin Huaiming asked curiously. Wang Haoren didn't reply. He just walked out of the room and closed the door. Do you have to be so cold? Is it that hard to answer a question? I'm your boss. Qin Huaiming pouted and complained bitterly. Chapter 658. After Wang Haoren conveyed some information to Qin Huaiming, he set up a defensive barrier around the villa to prevent any assassins from coming to attack Qin Huaiming again. Of course, the possibility of this happening was very small. After all, such a powerful assassin had just been killed. Qin Huaiming's stepmother wouldn't be so quick to find another assassin, and the Bai family was a suspect and was being watched by the police. At this juncture, they would definitely keep a low profile and not continue to find people to kill Qin Huaiming at this time. Otherwise, Yi Fan wouldn't have left after killing the assassin in the parking lot. However, Wang Haoren still did it just in case. Anyway, with his current cultivation, setting up a defensive barrier wouldn't consume much spirit qi. After that, Wang Haoren went back to the hotel to find Qin Yunhan and the others. He wanted to finish the unfinished business with Yushi Qing and Wen Jing to solve their doubts. After a night of cultivation in the Kaitian Tower, Wang Haoren's cultivation also rose. When he was on the way to Shanghai, he had reached the second level from the first level of the foundation establishment stage. Not long after, he had reached the third level. And the reason why he was so fast was naturally because of Mu Zhaozhao and Yushi Qing. Wang Haoren estimated that it wouldn't take long for him to reach the fourth level. After all, there was still Qin Huaiming in Shanghai. At dawn, Wang Haoren left the hotel and returned to Qin Huaiming's villa. Qin Huaiming worked until very late and had a lot on her mind. She didn't have much time to rest. When Wang Haoren came back, he opened and closed the door without deliberately hiding his movements. When Qin Huaiming heard this, she naturally knew that Wang Haoren was back. He's only back now. What did he do last night? Qin Huaiming thought to herself. It was dawn outside, and Qin Huaiming didn't have time to rest, so she got up and washed up. Then, she asked Wang Haoren to drive her to the company. In the car, Qin Huaiming couldn't suppress the doubts in her heart and asked, "What did you do last night?" Wang Haoren held the steering wheel and focused on driving as if he didn't hear anything. Qin Huaiming pouted, a hint of resentment in her beautiful eyes. However, Wang Haoren did not answer, so she did not continue to ask. But after a while, the car suddenly stopped outside a hotel. What's wrong? Qin Huaimeng didn't understand. You haven't had breakfast yet, Wang Haoran said indifferently. I don't want to eat. Just send me to the company. Qin Huaimeng shook his head. Wang Haoran didn't pay any attention to her. He got out of the car and walked toward the hotel. Hey, come back. Qin Huaimeng shouted at his back, but he turned a deaf ear to him. Why are you doing this? I already said that I don't want to eat, but you still want to buy breakfast? Do you know what I like to eat? Qin Huaimeng muttered to himself. After a short while, Wang Haoran returned to the car and handed the takeout box to Qin Huaimeng in the back seat. Qin Huaimeng didn't want to eat, but she suddenly smelled a familiar aroma. She opened the takeout box and found that it was all her favorite food. Qin Huaimeng was stunned for a moment, then asked with surprise and joy, How do you know what I like to eat? I just bought it randomly. Wang Haoran's tone was very perfunctory. Qin Huaimeng didn't believe him. If it was just one type of breakfast, it could be a coincidence. However, Wang Haoran had brought 5 types of breakfast, all of which she liked to eat. Qin Huaimeng was sure that this was not a coincidence. This could only mean that he knew her and knew her habits. You know so much about me. I really suspect that you're trying to get close to me and have designs on me. Qin Huaimeng mustered up his courage to say this. Wang Haoran didn't immediately reply. If you don't answer, I'll take it as a yes. Qin Huaimeng was secretly delighted. As long as you say the word, I can leave immediately. Wang Haoran suddenly slowed down and stopped the car by the side of the road. Don't misunderstand. I have no intention of chasing you away, Qin Huaimeng said hurriedly. As soon as she said this, her face turned red. She had just said that she suspected Wang Haoran of hitting on her, but now she said that she had no intention of chasing Wang Haoran away. Didn't this mean that even if Wang Haoran hit on her, she didn't have any objections? To a certain extent, this could be considered a confession. Then that's fine. Wang Haoran acted as if he didn't understand and started the car again. When Qin Huaimeng heard that he didn't intend to leave, she heaved a sigh of relief. However, she quickly realized that something was wrong. She was the boss. Why did it seem like she had to do things according to his mood? What was going on? Thinking of this, Qin Huaimeng really wanted to teach this bodyguard a lesson and establish her authority as the boss. However, she didn't dare to open her mouth. Because of fear, this cold and aloof bodyguard directly threw in the towel and quit. When the time came, where would she go to cry? It was still early, and there weren't many people in the company. After Qin Huaimeng arrived at her office, she turned on her computer, as usual, and browsed the morning economic news of Shanghai. However, she accidentally saw a piece of news that shocked her. The Bai family members had died mysteriously overnight. The Bai family was also a business family. Their family's power was not inferior to the Qin families, and they were one of the giants of Shanghai. The fact that they had all died in one night caused a huge commotion. This news had already swept through all the major media outlets. With so many people dying mysteriously, it was inevitable that people would think that it was man-made. Naturally, Qin Huaimeng also linked this to her bodyguard. Come in for a moment, Qin Huaimeng said to the door. What's the matter? Wang Haoran saw that Qin Huaimeng's expression was a little strange. Come here. I want to show you something. Qin Huaimeng waved her hand and gestured to him. Wang Haoran walked over and saw the news headline on the computer screen. As he expected, Yi Fan had indeed made a move. Did you do this? Qin Huaimeng's face was pale. Her originally beautiful voice had become a little hoarse. The Bai family members harmed you, and you still pity them? Wang Haoran maintained his expressionless face. Of course not. If the Bai family members are guilty, they could be dealt with legally. Doing this will only bring you trouble. Qin Huaimeng was afraid that this matter would be investigated. If that was the case, it would be big trouble. I didn't do it. So many people from the Bai clan died. It's their retribution. It's the heavens that punish them. No, even if we investigate, it'll just be a bizarre death, Wang Haoran said casually. Qin Huaimeng definitely didn't believe that this was a coincidence. She was very sure that this was Wang Haoran's doing. However, there was no point in dwelling on these questions now. Qin Huaimeng continued to browse the news, wanting to know more. According to the official news, the Bai family members were bleeding from all orifices. The way they died was very gruesome. Chapter 659. Are you sure you'll be fine? Qin Huaiming was worried. I told you I didn't do it. Wang Haoren spoke the truth, which was rare for him. Not only would they not be able to trace it back to him, they would not even be able to trace it back to Yi Fan. Yi Fan's technique was a high-level technique called the blood origin curse. By taking the blood of a direct descendant of the Bai family, he could kill anyone related to the blood. If Yi Fan wanted to, he could even kill a distant relative of the Bai family, let alone a direct descendant of the Bai family. This method was beyond the knowledge of the Blue Planet. There was no evidence to prove it. The true power of this spell was related to the user's cultivation level. Yi Fan was only at the Qi refinement stage, so his power was limited. In his previous life, Yi Fan captured the ancestor of the race that killed Fan Yuhua and took his blood in order to avenge her. Unleashing the blood origin curse technique, he directly annihilated the entire race. The number of living beings and races was in the hundreds of millions. Qin Huaiming heard Wang Haoren emphasize again that he did not do it. But of course, she didn't believe him. What else did you do last night? Qin Huaiming thought of something else and asked again. Wang Haoren knew that Qin Huaiming was talking about how to deal with her stepmother. He did not know how Yi Fan would deal with it. The only thing he was sure of was that Yi Fan would not stop at nothing. If the Bai family was destroyed, Qin Huaiming's stepmother would also be in trouble. Just be prepared, Wang Haoren said vaguely. Qin Huaiming knew that she could not get anything out of him. She could only wait and see how the situation developed. She was worried that Wang Haoren would be in trouble if the matter was exposed. She could not focus on her work for half the morning. On the other hand, Wang Haoren leaned against the sofa in the office and closed his eyes as if nothing had happened. Knock, knock. Someone knocked on the door. Come in, Qin Huaiming said. The female secretary pushed the door open and reported. President Qin, Madam and young master are here. When Qin Huaiming heard this, he couldn't help but be surprised. The madam and young master that the secretary was referring to were naturally Qin Huaiming's stepmother and younger brother. However, they usually didn't come to the company. Why did they come to look for him at this time? With that thought in mind, he inadvertently glanced at Wang Haoren and recalled some of the words he had said before. Did they say why they were looking for me? Qin Huaiming asked the secretary. I didn't ask, but from the looks of it, they seem to be very flustered, the secretary said. Qin Huaiming suddenly had a premonition that something big was about to happen. He took a deep breath and said to the female secretary, Bring them here. Yes, President Qin. The female secretary nodded and walked out of the office. When he returned, there were two more people beside him. One of them was a beautiful woman in her 30s, and the other was a 15-year-old boy. These two people were Qin Huaiming's stepmother and younger brother. Their faces were filled with fear. After arriving at the office, they knelt down in front of Qin Huaiming. Huaiming, I was wrong. I let you down. Please forgive me, forgive me. Qin Huaiming's stepmother was in tears. She kowtowed to Qin Huaiming as she cried and begged. When Qin Huaiming heard this, his heart tightened. He asked in a low voice, You let me down? What did you do? I was muddle-headed and hired assassins to kill you. But now I know that I was wrong. Huaiming, please forgive me. Qin Huaiming's stepmother cried. Hearing this, Qin Huaiming's face turned even paler. Originally, she had held onto a glimmer of hope that this matter had nothing to do with her stepmother. But now that her stepmother had said it herself, this matter was confirmed. Qin Huaiming's gaze shifted to Wang Haoren. It was obvious that her stepmother's sudden repentance had something to do with Wang Haoren. You can tell this to the judge, Qin Huaiming replied after a moment of heartache. Huaiming, if you don't forgive me, your brother and I won't be able to live past today. My death won't be regretted, but your brother is innocent. I beg you, I beg you. Qin Huaiming's cries were heart-wrenching as he repeatedly kowtowed to Qin Huaiming. The sound of her head hitting the floor rang out continuously. After a few times, her forehead was bleeding. Sister, I beg you. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Qin Huaiming's brother also began to cry. Qin Huaiming couldn't help but be moved by this scene. Her stepmother was as venomous as a snake and scorpion. Her death was not to be regretted, but her brother was innocent. But just as she was thinking about this, she suddenly remembered something. This seemingly harmless brother of hers had a serious tendency to abuse animals. She used to have a cat that accidentally broke her brother's favorite toy. In the end, when she wasn't around, her brother skinned the cat alive and cut it into pieces. Qin Huaimin could still remember that bloody scene. And at that time, her brother was only 10 years old. Now that she thought about it, she shuddered. Such a twisted mentality was either created by his environment or innate. And her brother's environment was very good, so it couldn't have been created. That could only mean that cold-bloodedness and viciousness were engraved in his bones and even in his genes. Qin Huaiming had guessed this before, but her father was a kind person and her stepmother was also very virtuous. At that time, she only thought that her brother was immature. But now that she thought about it, this viciousness was exactly the same as her own mother's. Qin Huaiming really couldn't imagine what kind of terrible things he would do when he grew up. For a moment, Qin Huaiming really hoped that the two of them would die together. That way, she would be rid of all future troubles. But the incessant crying in her ears made her unable to harden her heart. Qin Huaiming's stepmother saw that she was soft-hearted and hurriedly said to her son, "Quickly thank your sister. Your sister forgives us." "Thank you, sister. Thank you." Hearing this, Qin Huaiming remained silent, tacitly agreeing. Her stepmother and brother kowtowed a few more times, then got up and prepared to leave. Just as the two of them turned around, their eyes flashed with intense resentment. Qin Huaiming watched them leave and sighed. Then she turned to look at Wang Haoran, who hadn't said a word the entire time. He had guessed that Qin Huaiming would be soft-hearted, and Yifan had also guessed this. Hence, he only gave Qin Huaiming's stepmother and brother a chance to repent, but not a chance to live. Wang Haoran had just sensed that Yifan had left his divine sense and spiritual energy on Qin Huaiming's stepmother and brother. The divine sense's purpose was to let Yifan know what the two of them had said to Qin Huaiming, and the spiritual energy's purpose was to take their lives. Chapter 660. Qin Huaiming watched the two of them leave with a worried expression. "If you were worried, why didn't you say anything? Why did you watch them leave?" Wang Haoran asked. "I'm a little soft-hearted, but I'm more worried about you." Qin Huaiming frowned. "Did you think that I would kill them if you said I didn't forgive them?" Wang Haoran laughed. "Isn't that the case?" Qin Huaiming was stunned. "Do you think I look like such a stupid person?" Wang Haoran asked. Qin Huaiming was stunned for a moment, then asked carefully, "If I said I didn't forgive them, what would you have done?" "I wouldn't have done anything," Wang Haoran said. Qin Huaiming was even more confused. He sighed. "It's too late to say anything now. They're gone. Actually, whether you forgive them or not, the result won't change." Wang Haoran said mysteriously. "What do you mean? What did you do to them? Why were they so afraid and came to beg for my forgiveness? And they didn't seem to know you. Why did you go to them with your face covered? What's going on?" Qin Huaiming asked repeatedly. Wang Haoran couldn't answer these questions. He could only ask Yifan what he had done. But these weren't important. There are some things you don't need to know. You just need to know that your worries are unnecessary. That's enough, Wang Haoran said. Qin Huaiming was very confused. What was he going to do next? But just as this thought appeared in his mind, he vaguely heard two painful screams from outside. Moreover, the timbre of the two voices was vaguely familiar. Qin Huaiming quickly walked out of the office to take a look. In a corridor on the same floor, his stepmother and brother were rolling on the ground with twisted expressions. Around them, there were many employees of the company watching. No one knew what was going on. They only felt a little scared. After the two screamed in pain for a while, their voices stopped, and they suddenly stopped moving. The company's security came over and took a closer look. They were shocked to find that the two of them were dead. A strange atmosphere began to pervade the surroundings. Then, people from the police station came to investigate the cause of death. However, after an investigation, it was found that there were no signs of poisoning. In the end, he was thought to have died of a sudden strange illness. At this point, the two behind-the-scenes masterminds, as well as the people close to the two behind-the-scenes masterminds, were all dead. When Qin Huaiming learned of this, he quietly let out a sigh of relief. When he secretly looked at Wang Haoran, his gaze became much gentler. "You've done so much for me. I really don't know how to repay you. Qin Huaiming called Wang Haoren to his office for a private talk. Ding! The female supporting lead Qin Huaiming's favorability towards the host has increased by 10. Current favorability is 70, unchanging feelings. Ding! The host has influenced the plot and obtained 4,000 villain points. Yifan's protagonist aura minus 200. The host's villain aura plus 200. This is what I owe you, Wang Haoren said indifferently. What exactly do you owe me? Can't you just tell me? Qin Huaiming really wanted to know. Wang Haoren remained silent. Qin Huaiming could only sigh. At 10 o'clock that night, Qin Huaiming finished her work and got off work. Just like yesterday, Wang Haoren sent her to the villa near the company. But when they reached the destination, Wang Haoren suddenly handed the car keys to Qin Huaiming. What do you mean by this? Qin Huaiming's heart tightened. The threats around you have all been removed, Wang Haoren said. You're leaving? Qin Huaiming understood, her face instantly turning pale. I've already finished my work, Wang Haoren said. Although the mastermind behind the assassination are all dead, there's no guarantee that I won't be in danger. You still have to continue protecting me. Will we sign a contract? Qin Huaiming said anxiously. Take good care of yourself in the future. Also, you really don't have to be soft-hearted towards your enemies. Otherwise, you'll easily be taken advantage of. Wang Haoren's tone sounded like he was leaving her before he left. I can give you a raise. Name a price. Qin Huaiming tried to persuade him to stay. Also, although work is important, your health is also important. Don't push yourself too hard, Wang Haoren continued. 2 million a month. Qin Huaiming offered a high price. It's late. You should go back and rest, Wang Haoren said. 5 million a month. Qin Huaiming continued to raise the price. Wang Haoren turned, waved, and slowly walked away. 10 million. Qin Huaiming shouted at his back. Wang Haoren turned a deaf ear to him and continued walking forward. 100 million. 100 million a month. As long as you continue to be my bodyguard. Qin Huaiming gradually lost her mind. Wang Haoren still didn't seem to hear her. I can give you all of the Qin family's wealth. As long as you stay and continue to be my bodyguard, the Qin family's hundreds of billions of assets will all be yours. Qin Huaiming had lost half of her mind and was about to go crazy. But even so, he didn't stop walking. Qin Huaiming could tell that money wasn't enough to move him. Didn't you say you owed me? You think I'll pay you back just because you said so? Why do you have to call the shots? I said you haven't paid me back yet. Stop right there. Qin Huaiming reprimanded. Wang Haoren stopped in his tracks. Qin Huaiming was overjoyed for a moment and chased after him. Can you stay? Her tone was extremely gentle, even a little pleading. A normal bodyguard is more than capable of protecting you. It doesn't matter if I stay or not, Wang Haoren said. No, this is very important. Qin Huaiming said anxiously. I have no reason to stay. I really should go. Wang Haoren shook his head. Qin Huaiming gritted her teeth and threw caution to the wind. She opened her arms and hugged him tightly. Can't I be the reason you stay? Feeling the warmth and softness in his arms, Wang Haoren breathed a sigh of relief. Girl, I've waited so long for you to throw yourself into my arms. What are you doing? Wang Haoren pretended to be surprised. Qin Huaiming moved her face away from his chest and raised her head slightly. She looked at him affectionately and with a hint of coquettishness. You can leave if you want, but you have to return my heart to me. Otherwise, you're not allowed to leave. Sigh. Nothing good will come of us being together. You might even die. Aren't you afraid? Wang Haoren sighed. Qin Huaiming was taken aback. She didn't know what he meant, but she still said resolutely, My heart belongs to you. I won't regret it even if I die. Wang Haoren couldn't help but sigh when he heard this. Qin Huaiming, this female supporting character, was truly a pitiful character. Once you fell in love, you would be willing to do anything. Yifan was really lucky. No, more accurately speaking, Yifan's luck had already been snatched away by Qin Huaiming. With Qin Huaiming's words, Wang Haoren didn't continue pretending to leave. This young couple could see the passion in each other's eyes. At this moment, all words seemed unnecessary. Wang Haoren picked Qin Huaiming up and carried her into the villa. Qin Huaiming buried her head in his chest, nervous and shy. For a moment, she didn't dare to look around until she felt herself being gently placed on the soft bed. Then, the restraints on her body were removed, and she felt a little cold. At this moment, outside Qin Huaiming's villa, a young man with his hand behind his back slowly walked in. The young man looked ordinary and had a maturity that didn't match his age. Chapter 661. This strange young man was naturally Yi Fan. He happened to be passing by and remembered that Qin Huaiming's villa was nearby, so he came to take a look. The lights in the villa were on, so there was obviously someone inside. It was not hard to guess that Qin Huaiming was here tonight, but Yi Fan did not plan to see her, so he spread out his senses to see what Qin Huaiming was busy with. But with his understanding of Qin Huaiming, he could guess that she was busy with work. Yi Fan's senses quickly reached the villa and heard some obscene sounds. Although there were no words, Yi Fan could tell that it was Qin Huaiming's voice just by the sound. Although Yi Fan was an old monster who had lived for thousands of years, he had never tried that kind of thing before. So, after being confused for a while, he realized what Qin Huaiming's voice was. Yi Fan immediately frowned as an uncomfortable feeling rose in his heart. He sensed that there was another person in the villa other than Qin Huaiming. Judging from Qin Huaiming's voice, it was not hard to guess what was going on. This woman who should have loved him deeply was now. Ding. Host has damaged Yi Fan's mental state. Received 4,000 villain points. Yi Fan protagonist aura -200. Host villain aura +200. However, the uncomfortable feeling did not last for long before Yi Fan suppressed it. He had never planned to do anything with Qin Huaiming. He just wanted to help her deal with the threats around her. Since he had no feelings for her, why should he care about these things? It was enough for him to have Yu Ruo. He should not have any thoughts about other women. Yi Fan calmed down, but he was still suspicious. After his rebirth, he had changed some things. Perhaps it was because of this that Qin Huaiming's situation had changed. No matter who you are, I hope you treat Sister Huaiming well. Otherwise, I will make you regret being born into this world, Yi Fan said in his heart. He hesitated for a moment, wanting to see who Qin Huaiming's man was and see if it was someone he had met in his previous life. But after thinking about it, he gave up, because now was not the right time. After all, Sister Huaiming could be... He was afraid that he would see something he should not see. Master Yi, do you know the owner of this place? Yi Fan's subordinate, Yin Shi, walked down and asked curiously. I do, Yi Fan said calmly. Since you know him, why don't you go in and pay him a visit? Yin Shi asked doubtfully. A strange look appeared on Yi Fan's face. You're asking too many questions. I spoke too much, Yin Shi hurriedly said. All right, why did you rush over to find me? Yi Fan asked. I've received news that Long Qianshan has come out of the Seven Despair Valley to take revenge on you, Grandmaster Yi, said Yin Shi. Long Qianshan? You want to take revenge on me? Yi Fan raised his brows. Grandmaster Yi, it seems that you still don't know. When you were in Sangzhou, you once killed a martial arts expert with the surname Long. He was the disciple that Long Qianshan was most proud of. When you killed him, I advise you not to do so. Have you forgotten? That's true. It wasn't that Yi Fan didn't remember it. He just didn't care about it at all. When Yin Shi saw Yi Fan's calm demeanor, he said anxiously, Long Qianshan is ranked second on the Earth leaderboard. Grandmaster Yi, you must not let your guard down. What is the Earth ranking? Yi Fan asked. Yin Shi was stunned and confused. How could Grandmaster Yi not know about the Earth ranking when his martial arts attainment was so high? It's a ranking compiled by an organization called by Shaosheng. Those who are ranked on the ranking are all the top martial arts experts in the world. Long Qianshan is definitely not simple to be ranked second on the Earth leaderboard, Yin Shi explained and then reminded Yi Fan. However, the second on the Earth leaderboard is something that happened 10 years ago. Long Qianshan was defeated by Yi Wuhan 10 years ago. After that, he went into seclusion in the Seven Despair Valley for 10 years. Now that he has come out, his martial arts strength must have improved greatly. Maybe he has already become a human immortal. Yi Fan's face was still calm. This Yi Wuhan is ranked first on the Earth leaderboard, right? That's right. Although Long Qianshan was defeated 10 years ago, he only lost by one move. Now that Long Qianshan has come out of seclusion, it's hard to say who is the real number one. Yin Qi said solemnly. Why? Yi Fan asked. Yi Wuhin was in charge of the imperial capital, resisting the foreign martial arts experts and preventing them from invading. For 10 years, the imperial capital was peaceful, but Yi Wuhin spent too much time on mundane affairs. He couldn't devote all his energy to martial arts, Yin Qi explained. However, Long Qianshan is different. The Seven Despair Valley is a place of death. Long Qianshan was able to stay in seclusion there for 10 years. Such a person is able to put all his energy into martial arts. After 10 years, Long Qianshan's martial arts cultivation will definitely be much stronger than before. After Long Qianshan comes out of seclusion, he will challenge Yi Wuhin to avenge the humiliation of the past. However, Yi Wuhin was busy with mundane matters in the imperial capital. Therefore, he decided to fight Long Qianshan 100 days later. Unfortunately, during this period, Long Qianshan heard about the death of his beloved disciple. He also heard that your martial arts strength is very high. He is very interested in you. Yi Fan finally understood. He smiled faintly and said, Long Qianshan wants to use me to sharpen his blade before the battle with Yi Wuhin. Grandmaster Yi, how can you still smile? You should think about how to avoid the battle. Long Qianshan has sent people to look for you. Yin Qi said anxiously. If Yi Wuhin is able to defeat Long Qianshan in the duel 100 days later, perhaps you won't have any trouble. Wang Haoran could not help but smile when he heard Yin Qi's words. The last time he was at Hong Kong Island, he wanted to make a name for himself. However, he met an expert and left Hong Kong Island to come to Shanghai. Now that Long Qianshan, who was ranked second on the Earth leaderboard, wanted to find trouble with him, it was exactly what he wanted. Long Qianshan wanted to sharpen his blade before the battle with Yi Wuhin. He also wanted to use Long Qianshan to make a name for himself. Spread the news that Yi Xiantian is waiting for Long Qianshan at the Chunshan River in Shanghai. Yi Fan ordered. Grandmaster Yi, are you sure? Yin Qi was shocked. I don't want to say the same thing twice, Yi Fan said faintly. Yes, Grandmaster. I will do it right away. Yin Qi knew that Grandmaster Yi had already made up his mind. He could only nod his head respectfully. Yin Qi bowed and left the place. Yi Fan looked at the lights in the villa and immediately turned to leave. As for Huaiming's boyfriend, he definitely had to consider it. However, he wanted to postpone it until after the battle with Long Qianshan. Only then would he do it. Chapter 662. After Yi Fan left, Wang Haoran retracted his gaze. He had sensed Yi Fan's presence the moment he arrived at Qin Huaiming's villa. Yi Fan and Yin Qi's conversation made him aware of everything. He had heard about the Bai Shaoxing organization before. They were talking about the hidden dragons and phoenixes ranking. Yi Fan and Yin Qi were talking about the Earth ranking. Wang Haoran was not surprised by the ranking at all. To put it bluntly, it was just a common trick. Wang Haoran did not need to ask around to know that there was a heaven ranking above the Earth ranking. Based on their conversation, he could deduce that the limit of the experts on the Earth ranking was probably the human immortal realm. Those on the heaven ranking were definitely above the human immortal realm. The cerulean planet was not as simple as it seemed. However, after thinking about it, it made sense. Yi Fan's cultivation level had to reach a relatively high level before he could leave the cerulean planet with his physical body. During this period, there would be many stages for him to show off. Wang Haoran was sure that the so-called second on the Earth ranking, Long Qianshan, was just a stepping stone for Yi Fan to show off. After Yi Fan defeated the Earth leaderboard, the experts on the Heaven leaderboard and the Heaven leaderboard would probably appear. The Xiantian Celestial Lord really knows how to pick a place to fight at the Chunshan River in Shanghai. Wang Haoran sighed. The Chunshan River ran through Shanghai and divided the city into east and west. It was one of the most representative places in Shanghai. Yi Fan's decision to fight with Long Qianshan at the Chunshan River would definitely cause an uproar. Long Qianshan might not be able to defeat Yi Fan, but his strength should be at the human immortal realm. The commotion caused by a martial artist of this realm would be too big. It would be hard for people to not notice it. After defeating Long Qianshan, Yi Fan's name would definitely spread throughout the Fire Country. To be more precise, Yi Xuantian's name would spread throughout the Fire Country. This was because Yi Fan had said that Yi Xiantian was waiting for Long Qianshan at the Chunshan River in Shanghai, not Yi Fan. The name Yi Fan did not sound as impressive as Yi Xiantian. However, Wang Haoran wasn't concerned about this right now. Instead, he was concerned about how to stop Yi Fan from acting all high and mighty. If he didn't know about this, it would have been fine. But now that he knew, there was no reason not to stop him. As a villain, he couldn't stand it when a main character pretended to be impressive. What's wrong? As Wang Haoran was pondering, he suddenly heard a beautiful woman ask quietly from below. Qin Huaiming had already guessed what was going to happen. He planned to silently endure it, but he closed his eyes nervously and waited for a while. Seeing that Wang Haoran didn't do anything, he opened his eyes and looked at him. Have you really thought it through? Of course, Wang Haoran wouldn't say that he was distracted just now. Instead, he found another excuse for not attacking. In fact, he didn't plan to succeed just like that. Because if he did that, he would be wasting the opportunity to increase his cultivation. The reason why he did that earlier was because he knew that Yi Fan was here. Thus, he purposely caused a commotion so that Yi Fan would hear it and see how he would react. Now that he had achieved his goal, he naturally stopped at the right time. But he couldn't tell Qin Huaiming about this. Wang Haoran, what is our past? What do you owe me? Qin Huaiming was full of doubts and asked the same question that he had asked several times before. Actually, I'm not Wang Haoran. I'm Wang Haoran. Or more accurately, I'm not Wang Haoran either. I'm the Extreme Heaven Immortal Emperor, Wang Haoran said seriously. What? Qin Huaiming was completely confused. Wang Haoran brought Qin Huaiming into the Immortal Emperor Pagoda. Then, with a wave of his hand, some images appeared in front of him. I'm not talking about this life, but the previous one, Wang Haoran said slowly. In my previous life, when I first saw you, I fell in love with you. But at that time, I divined that your fate conflicted with mine. If we were really together, we would jinx you to death. But because of my strong cultivation, I was fearless and insisted on being with you. In the beginning, everything was normal. Not long after, a great opportunity appeared in the world. I went to look for it, but just as I was about to leave your side, my enemies came and killed you. After you died, I was in great pain and my cultivation stagnated. Not long after, another enemy came. In the end, I was defeated and died. My other concubines also died because of love. After reincarnating, I searched everywhere for you and successfully found you. But I didn't want to meet you. I just wanted to help you solve your problems and then leave. Who knew that you? At this point, Wang Haoran suddenly let out a long sigh. Qin Huaiming was stunned for a long time. This information was too much, and he couldn't take it all in. It's not too late to regret it now before it really happens, Wang Haoran said. Qin Huaiming's heart surged for a while, and he gradually recovered. His confused and stunned eyes regained their determination. I still say the same thing. My heart belongs to you. I won't regret it even if I die. In this life, I will protect you. I won't let anyone hurt you. Wang Haoran hugged her. Ding! Female supporting character Qin Huaiming's favorability towards the host has increased by 10. Current favorability is 80. Undying love. When Qin Huaiming heard this, his heart felt like it was about to melt. His entire body felt weak as he looked at him nervously and expectantly. Wang Haoran understood, but he wasn't in a hurry. He first taught her the immortal cultivation method. Qin Huaiming knew that Wang Haoran had enemies and needed to raise his cultivation, so she studied seriously. After that, everything fell into place. Ding! Host has captured female supporting character Qin Huaiming for the first time. Received 8,000 villain points. Ding! Female supporting character Qin Huaiming's favorability towards the host has increased by 20. Current favorability is 100. Undying love, ding! Host has influenced the plot. Received 12,000 villain points. Yi Fan's protagonist aura minus 600. Host's villain aura plus 600. Wang Haoran happily received a wave of rewards. However, what made him even happier was that he went from the 3rd level of foundation establishment to the 4th level of foundation establishment. The speed at which his cultivation base was rising was simply too fast. At the back mountain of Qingling village, the primal chaos bottle was absorbing the spiritual qi of the blessed land and turning it into spiritual liquid. After a period of time, his cultivation would increase again. The Demon Emperor's internal sutra, the heaven-splitting tower, and the primal chaos bottle were all cultivation cheats. As long as he developed them well, it wouldn't be difficult for him to defeat all the main characters of the immortal cultivation method. Qin Huaimeng was a little tired, so she rested in the heaven-splitting tower. The flow of time in the heaven-splitting tower was much slower than outside. Qin Huaimeng didn't have much time to rest, but she had plenty of time here. Wang Haoran didn't disturb her for the time being. Instead, he began to think about how to deal with the battle between Yi Xiantian and Long Qianshan. Chapter 663. Wang Haoran's first thought was to stop the battle between Yi Xiantian and Long Qianshan. Without the battle, Yi Xiantian would not be able to show off. However, if Yi Xiantian were to fight with Long Qianshan, it would be a huge blow to Yi Xiantian. Yi Xiantian was confident that he would win the battle and never thought that he would lose. What would Yi Xiantian feel if he lost? Even if Yi Xiantian was an old monster who had lived for thousands of years, his state of mind would be more or less affected. Following this train of thought, Wang Haoran had 2 options. The first option was to change his appearance and become Long Qianshan to fight with Yi Xiantian. After entering the foundation establishment stage, he could change his appearance for a certain period of time. It was totally possible for him to become Long Qianshan. However, there would be a problem if he did that. Yi Xiantian would recognize him when he fought with him. After all, the 2 of them had fought in Hong Kong last time. It was fine if Wang Haoran did not reveal his spiritual qi. Once he did, Yi Fan, who had the divine consciousness of an immortal prime, would recognize him. Yi Fan had already been defeated once, and his mental state was affected to a certain extent. Now that he was defeated by Wang Haoran again, his state of mind would be affected to a limited extent. The second option was to let Long Qianshan defeat Yi Xiantian. Yi Xiantian thought that he was invincible on the cerulean planet. After being defeated in Hong Kong, he came to Shanghai. If he was defeated by Long Qianshan again, his state of mind would definitely be affected. In comparison, Wang Haoran was definitely the second option, which was more suitable. He was now at the 4th level of the foundation establishment stage. If he injected his spiritual qi into Long Qianshan would be able to defeat Yi Fan, who was at the qi refinement stage. However, if he wanted to do that, he would need to talk to Long Qianshan. After all, he needed Long Qianshan's cooperation. However, where to find Long Qianshan now seemed to be a problem. Wang Haoran was worried for a moment, but he really wanted to smile. Although he did not know Long Qianshan, it would not be difficult for him to find Long Qianshan. Yi Fan's next storyline was obvious. He would defeat Long Qianshan at Shanghai's Chunshan River. Before that, there would definitely be a wave of pressure from public opinion. In short, they were setting up a stage for Yi Xiantian to show off. Long Qianshan was ranked 2nd on the Earth leaderboard and was a famous expert in the martial world. Yi Xiantian was only famous in Sangzhou. He had also made a name for himself in Fragrant Island, but he was not known by the world. Everyone felt that Long Qianshan would definitely win, and Yi Xiantian was courting death. Yi Xuantian's follower, Yin Qi, had tried to persuade Yi Xiantian to stay away from him, which proved this point. However, when everyone thought Long Qianshan was going to win, Yi Xian showed his power in front of the heavens and defeated Long Qianshan. How many people would be shocked by this? After Yi Fan put on such a good show, Yi Xuantian's name would soon be known by the whole world. However, that was if Wang Haoran did nothing and allowed the plot to develop smoothly. Wang Haoran was sure that Long Qianshan would show up before the final battle. What he needed to do was to wait for Long Qianshan to show up. There was no need to look for him everywhere. He only needed to pay attention to the news in the hidden Jianghu. The truth was just as Wang Howren had expected. On the second day, after Yin Qi sent out the news, Long Qianshan spoke. The general idea was that Long Qianshan would kill Yi Xiantian in front of the Pearl Tower on Chunshan River 3 days later to avenge his beloved disciple. 2 days before the final battle, Wang Howren and Qin Huaiming planned to go to Chunshan River to have a look. It was autumn, but the hot weather made people feel like they were back in the middle of summer. The cool and beautiful president had taken off her serious and mature business attire. She was wearing a t-shirt and a pleated skirt, which made her look youthful. Qin Huaiming took Wang Howren's age into consideration. He was not even 20 years old and looked like a student, so she dressed up like this to match him. Qin Huaiming had just fallen in love. Her heart was filled with sweetness. She had a satisfied smile on her face. She held Wang Howren's hand and did not want to let go for even a second. It's so much easier not to be the president. I was so busy with work every day. It was so boring. Qin Huaiming smiled. Qin Huaiming's father was in his 40s. He was in his prime. However, when he was young, he overworked and his body was gradually exhausted. When he was in his 40s, many of his organs started to deteriorate. He did not have many years left to live. Wang Howren treated Qin Huaiming's father and used spirit qi to rejuvenate his body. Now that Qin Huaiming's father had recovered, his organs and vitality were like a man in his 30s. The burden on Qin Huaiming's shoulders was returned to her father. Otherwise, Qin Huaiming would not be so free. Hearing Qin Huaiming's words, Wang Howren smiled. Qin Huaiming was actually a woman without ambition. She had no choice but to take over the family's burden. What are you laughing at? Do you think I'm a lazy person with no ambition? Qin Huaiming asked when she saw Wang Howren's reaction. I don't think so. However, I think you're very hard-working, especially when you're cultivating. Wang Howren blinked. Qin Huaiming's face turned red at a speed visible to the naked eye. The flirtatious look in her eyes made the scenery by the spring Shun River pale in comparison. No, don't make fun of me. I'm just playing along with you. You said we have a big enemy. Of course I have to cultivate hard. Qin Huaiming argued with a red face. That's true. Wang Howren smiled and stopped teasing her. Instead, he looked around. As the news of Yi Xiantian and Long Qianshan's battle at the Spring Shun River spread, many people from the hidden Jianghu came to witness the battle. At the Spring Shun River, Wang Howren found many martial artists with decent true qi cultivation. However, Wang Howren did not care about these spectators. He strolled along the river with Qin Huaiming and came to the place with the most spectators, the Pearl Pagoda. The battle between Yi Xiantian and Long Qianshan was going to take place at the Pearl Pagoda. There were still 2 days before the battle, but many martial artists had already gathered here. Wang Howren sensed the true qi cultivation of the people around him. Soon, he sensed an extremely strong, true qi fluctuation that was comparable to Qin fans at his peak. He looked at the source and saw a small boat on the river. On the boat, a man wearing a bamboo hat was fishing. Wang Howren rented a sightseeing boat nearby and went boating with Qin Huaiming. Unknowingly, they came to the side of the fisherman's boat. The fisherman looked to be in his 50s. He had a beard on his face. He sat quietly on the boat, maintaining his fishing posture, not moving at all. Can you catch fish without a hook? Wang Howren suddenly asked with a smile. You're not the first to disturb me. However, you're probably the unluckiest one. Leave before I get angry. The fisherman warned in a deep voice. Chapter 664. Upon hearing the fisherman's words, Wang Howren smiled faintly. You're not the first person to disrespect me, but you might be the one who will die the most miserable death. Do you want to try? As soon as he said this, the dangling fisher, who had remained motionless, finally moved slowly. His deep eyes, which had been staring at the water surface, were cast on Wang Howren. There was a glint in his deep eyes. Given his true qi cultivation, if he did not deliberately restrain it, he could injure others and make them vomit blood. However, as soon as the fisherman met Wang Howren's eyes, he felt that there was an even stronger power shooting out from Wang Howren's indifferent eyes. The fisherman was shocked. He felt that the true qi in his body was out of his control. It flowed wildly, and he tasted blood in his throat. Fortunately, he clenched his teeth. Otherwise, he would have vomited blood. Since you didn't want to kill me, I'll spare your life, Wang Haoren said indifferently. Following the fishing line that the angler had condensed with his genuine qi, he looked at the bottom of the water and continued. Using true qi to weave a net. That's not bad. However, you won't be able to catch the fish you want. You're Yi Xiantian. The fisherman was no doubt Long Qinshan. When he saw Wang Haoren's method and his overly young appearance, he could only associate him with Yi Xiantian, who was rumored to be Master Yi. I'm not Yi Xiantian. I'm just here to tell you a piece of news, Wang Haoren said. What news? Long Qinshan's voice was not as deep as before. It sounded a little choked up. You're no match for Yi Xiantian. You'll most likely die in his hands in this battle, Wang Haoren said slowly. I've been in seclusion for 10 years. I thought I was invincible. Who knew that the world has changed? Long Qinshan did not doubt Wang Haoren's words. He only sighed bitterly. However, his eyes soon regained their determination. I've made an agreement with Yi Xiantian to fight here. Even if the odds of winning are slim, I won't back down. Hearing this, Wang Haoren was not very surprised. Before coming here, he had already inquired about Long Qinshan. Long Qinshan's heart was set on pursuing the pinnacle of the martial Tao. His confidence was abnormally strong. Otherwise, he would not have secluded himself in a place like the Seven Despair Valley. However, despite his perseverance, he was still a human. Since he was human, he would naturally be afraid of death. However, the matter of the final battle had already been made known to almost everyone in the hidden Jianghu. If Long Qinshan ran away, he would be ridiculed. To put it bluntly, he wanted to save face no matter what. Actually, you might not lose, Wang Haoren suddenly said. What do you mean? Long Qinshan was confused. Wang Haoren focused and flicked his finger. A white light shot toward Long Qinshan and entered his body. Long Qinshan felt a strange force entering his body and gathering in his dantian. At the same time, some information appeared in his mind. This method had already surpassed Long Qinshan's understanding. Who are you? Long Qinshan was shocked. Since you have reached this level of martial Tao, you should not be an idiot. If you don't want to die, you should quickly comprehend it. Wang Haoren did not answer his question. This power does not belong to me. Even if I defeat Yi Xiantian with it, it is meaningless. I will not use it, Long Qinshan said in a firm tone as he put away the shock on his face. No, you will use it. Wang Haoren smiled meaningfully. Then he gently moved the oars. The small boat that stopped for a moment slowly moved and soon disappeared from Long Qinshan's sight. Who was that person? Why did you say those strange things to him? Qin Huaiming sat on the side of the boat and asked Wang Haoren while paddling in the water with his bare feet. That person is called Long Qinshan. He is a martial Tao expert. Soon, a person called Yi Xiantian will fight here, Wang Haoren said. What does this have to do with us? Qin Huaiming was curious. Yi Xiantian is my enemy in my previous life. In your previous life, you were killed because of him. This person is despicable and shameless. He took advantage of the fact that I was out looking for opportunities to come to my territory to seek revenge. After he defiled you, he even killed you. I have an irreconcilable enmity with this person. Wang Haoren's face was filled with anger. Yi Xiantian, Tian. Qin Huaiming was also furious. He remembered this name. All right, he has another name. He is called Yi Fan, Wang Haoren added. Qin Huaiming nodded and remembered it. I talked so much with Long Qinshan because I wanted to borrow his hand to kill Yi Xiantian, Wang Haoren explained. If you were so powerful, why did you kill Yi Xiantian yourself? Qin Huaiming did not understand. It would be great if things were that simple. Yi Xiantian has other tricks up his sleeve. If I push him too far, he can take me down with him. Otherwise, why would I hide in the dark and rely on others to kill him? Wang Haoren sighed. I see. Qin Huaiming was enlightened. He then asked, when is the battle between Long Qinshan and Yi Xiantian? 2 days later, Wang Haoren replied. Then we will come 2 days later. I want to see how Yi Xiantian dies. Qin Huaimeng gritted his teeth. Okay, let's go there together. Wang Haoren also wanted to see with his own eyes how Yi Xiantian would fail. During the 2 days of waiting for the battle, Wang Haoren did not stay idle. Qin Yunhan's group of 5 were all in Shanghai. Now, Qin Huaimeng was also there. During this time, Wang Haoren brought Qin Huaimeng to meet Qin Yunhan and the others. They were all concubines and could be considered as sisters. After a short time together, they became familiar with each other. Wang Haoren cultivated tirelessly for almost 2 days. It was the day of the battle between Yi Xiantian and Long Qianshan. Qin Yunhan's group of 5 was still unaware of Yi Xuantian's situation. They also did not know about the battle. Wang Haoren did not deliberately tell them. After all, Yi Fan was not related to them. There was no need for him to tell them about it. Therefore, Qin Yunhan's group of 5 was still immersed in their shopping and sightseeing in Shanghai. Wang Haoren brought Qin Huaimeng to the location of the battle. After 2 days, more and more people gathered at the location of the battle. Looking around, there was a huge crowd. Most of them had true qi ripples on their bodies. 10 years ago, Long Qianshan's name had already reverberated throughout the secluded Jianghu. Long Qianshan had been in seclusion for 10 years. Suddenly, he challenged Yi Xiantian to a battle. This was a big deal in the hidden world. When the hidden world's people or martial artists heard the news, they naturally wanted to witness the battle with their own eyes. There are so many people. I can't see clearly. Qin Huaimeng could not help but complain when she saw that the riverside was filled with people and her vision was blocked. Chapter 665. Then let's go somewhere with a better view, Wang Haoren said with a smile. Although his vision was blocked, it didn't affect his view of the battle. However, he had to go somewhere else for Qin Huaimeng's sake. Qin Huaimeng hated Yi Xiantian to the core when he found out that Yi Xiantian was his enemy. Naturally, he wanted to see how miserable Yi Xiantian would be. Wang Haoren brought Qin Huaimeng to the place where he rented a boat last time. He rented a small boat and prepared to watch the battle on the river. This way, his view wouldn't be blocked. After paying the bill, Wang Haoren followed the shop owner and Qin Huaimeng to where the boat was parked by the river. Boss, I want to rent a boat. Just as the shop owner was about to leave, another female customer suddenly came into the shop. This female customer was exceptionally beautiful. The shop owner was dazed for a moment before he came back to his senses and replied, "Okay." After that, he said to Wang Haoren and Qin Huaimeng, "Please wait for a moment." Wang Haoren wasn't in a hurry. He nodded to show that there was no problem. Then, he looked at the woman who had just walked into the shop. At the same time, the woman also looked at him. Ding! Congratulations to the host for meeting the supporting female, lead Yi Wuhan, for the first time. Super Peach Blossom Halo has triggered the first-class Pledge of Love effect. Ding! The supporting female, lead Yi Wuhan's favorability toward the host has increased to 80, deep affection. Ding! The host has influenced the plot. Received 10,000 villain points. Yi Fan protagonist Halo -500. Host villain Halo +500. The sudden system message stunned Wang Haoren for a few seconds. The woman in front of him looked like she was in her 20s. Her appearance, figure, and temperament were all excellent. She was only one step away from being a femme fatale. She was on the same level as Yu Shiqing. Of course, the difference between her and Yu Shiqing was that this woman was more mature and had a unique charm. In addition, Wang Haoren also felt the fluctuation of true qi from this woman. The fluctuation of true qi was extremely strong. It was on the same level as Long Qianshan. The identity of this woman in front of him was as clear as day. This was undoubtedly the number one on the Earth board, Yi Wuhan. After coming to this conclusion, Wang Haoren couldn't help but be surprised. He only went to inquire about Long Qianshan and did not ask about Yi Wuhan. From the conversation between Yin Shi and Yi Fan, he had a rough understanding of Yi Wuhan. Yin Shi had said that Yi Wuhan was stationed in the imperial capital to fend off the foreign martial arts exponents and was considered the Fire Country's guardian. This was because Wang Haoren subconsciously thought that Yi Wuhan was a general-like figure, and his image was that of a resolute middle-aged man. However, He had never expected that Yi Wuhin was actually a woman. Moreover, she was a beautiful woman who looked to be in her 20s. Of course, Wang Haoran didn't think that Yi Wuhin was only in his 20s. After all, 10 years ago, Yi Wuhin and Long Qianshan had fought to become the first on the Earth rankings. Long Qianshan did not deliberately use his true qi to maintain his appearance. His actual age matched his appearance. He was a man in his 50s. Yi Wuhin's true age might be younger than Long Qianshan, but it was definitely not less than 10 years. Perhaps she was about the same age as Feng Rao. Wang Haoran thought to himself. While Wang Haoran was thinking about this, Yi Wuhin's heart was also surging. Since she was sensible, she had been learning martial arts. 10 years ago, she defeated Long Qianshan and became the first on the Earth rankings. For her, there were only two things that were most important in life. One was to climb to the peak of martial arts, and the other was to protect the Fire Country. Even though she had long passed the marriageable age, she had never considered these things. Of course, the main reason was that no man in the world could enter her eyes. Yi Wuhin had never thought that she would have a strong admiration for a young man she had just met. She even felt a little infatuated with him. Moreover, Yi Wuhin soon discovered that this young man did not have any true qi fluctuations. He was just an ordinary person. She had actually become infatuated with a young man who only had a superficial appearance. Yi Wuhin felt that it was inconceivable, because before this, she had never thought that she was such a superficial person, because her ideal partner was someone who surpassed her in martial arts. The young man in front of her did not fit that description at all. More importantly, he did not seem to be more than 20 years old. Moreover, there was a young woman beside him. The two of them seemed to be a couple. Beauty, this is the price list of our shop's boat rental. Take a look and see what kind of boat you want. The shop owner came over with a booklet. Yi Wuhin was pulled back to reality, but she did not immediately respond to the shop owner. Instead, she said to Wang Haoran and Qin Huaiming, "You also want to rent a boat to go to the river?" "That's right." Wang Haoran nodded. "If you want to go on a boat to see the scenery, you should choose another day." Yi Wuhin solemnly reminded them. "We are not going to see the scenery. We just heard that there will be a duel here today. We want to find a place with a good view to watch it clearly." Wang Haoran explained. "The ignorant are really fearless." Yi Wuhin frowned. When a martial arts expert like Long Qianshan fought, it would cause too much of a commotion and it would easily implicate others. The view on the river was indeed good, but it was also very dangerous. Otherwise, there would not be so many people crowding on the shore instead of taking a boat to the river to watch the battle from a close distance. "Let's stay a little further away. Nothing will happen." Wang Haoran understood the meaning behind her words. "If the two of you insist on taking a boat to the river to watch the battle, why don't we accompany you? What do you think?" Yi Wuhin did not continue to persuade the two of them not to go to the river. Instead, she changed her words. With her strength, even if the boat was affected by the battle, she would be able to protect the two of them. "That's fine. The more the merrier." Wang Haoran nodded in agreement. "Okay." Yi Wuhin revealed a happy smile. Seeing this, Qin Huaiming stared at her. She could see that this woman was looking at Wang Haoran with a strange gaze. Yi Wuhin was sizing up Qin Huaiming with hostility. She felt ashamed and did not dare to look at Qin Huaiming. The reason why she suggested taking a boat with him was because she wanted to get closer to this young man. Wang Haoran rented a slightly bigger boat and shared it with Qin Huaiming and Yi Wuhin. "All right, I still don't know your names." After boarding the boat, Yi Wuhin asked. She wanted to find out more about this young man. "I'm Wang Haoran. This is my girlfriend, Qin Huaiming." Wang Haoran introduced himself and asked casually, "Beauty, what's your name?" Yi Wuhin was already mentally prepared, but when she heard him say that the young woman beside him was his girlfriend, she still felt sad. However, she hid her emotions very well. "I'm Shui Wuhin. I'm from the imperial capital." Yi Wuhin was afraid that her name was too famous and would scare him, so she did not dare to use her real name. Chapter 666. Wang Haoran saw that she wasn't telling the truth, but he didn't expose her either. "So you're from the capital. I heard that the capital is very prosperous, but I haven't been there yet. If there's a chance, I must go there." The capital is the most prosperous city in the Fire Country. If you go there, you won't be disappointed. Yi Wuhin said, if you come to the capital, remember to look for me. I will be a good host and treat you well. Yi Wuhin said to Wang Haoran with a smile. She soon noticed that Wang Haoran was looking at her with ill intent. She paused a moment and said, I'll treat you well. The ill intent in Qin Huaiming's eyes lessened slightly, and he asked, if it's convenient, do you work in the capital, or I grew up in the capital and work there? Yi Wuhin replied, what do you do? Qin Huaiming asked, I'm just a small employee in a company. It's not worth mentioning. Yi Wuhin lied and asked Qin Huaiming, what about you and your boyfriend? Are you studying, or have you joined the workforce? We're still students. We're studying at Qinling University, and we're here to travel. Wang Haoran said. Yi Wuhin replied with a no. She didn't find this answer strange at all, because this couple's age and clothes were very suitable for university students. After Wang Haoran said that, he slowly moved the oars, trying to find a good vantage point to watch the battle. Do you want me to row the boat? Yi Wuhin saw that the boat was moving slowly and thought that Wang Haoran was lacking in strength. She couldn't help but ask. I can. Wang Haoran shook his head. He just didn't want to row too fast. Don't think that I'm a woman. I'm very strong. Let me do it. Yi Wuhin insisted. Since this beauty wants to row the boat, let her row. Before Wang Haoran could say anything, Qin Huaiming spoke first. Yi Wuhin heard that and took the oars from Wang Haoran's hands. She moved the boat, and the boat moved a lot faster. On the other hand, Yi Wuhin's expression was normal, as if he didn't use any strength at all. Miss Shue's strength is really not small. Wang Haoran teased with a smile. I work out regularly, so I naturally have some strength. Shui Wuhin lied again. Then, he sized up Wang Haoran, who didn't look very strong, and suggested, don't worry. You can also exercise more. It's good for your body. A strange expression appeared on Qin Huaiming's face when she heard this. Did her boyfriend still need to train? You're right. When I have time, I'll go to the gym and get a membership, Wang Haoran casually replied to Yi Wuhin. When Yi Wuhin heard this, he knew that he was being perfunctory. However, as an outsider, it was not good for him to persuade too much. After Wang Haoran responded to Yi Wuhin, he didn't say anything for a while. Instead, he sensed the aura of the people on the shore to see if Yi Xiantian had come. Not long after, Wang Haoran sensed it. Apart from Yi Xiantian, he also sensed some familiar genuine qi fluctuations. Wang Haoran's gaze swept across the crowd on both sides of the shore and finally locked onto a group of 3 people on the shore. Among the 3 people, one was an old man, one was a mature beauty, and the last one was a beautiful girl. Wang Haoran didn't find it strange to see familiar faces. The battle between Yi Xiantian and Long Qianshan. It wasn't strange for such a grand event to attract people from the hidden Jianghu. Moreover, not to mention people from the hidden Jianghu, even Yi Wuhin, who was in charge of the imperial capital, came. Grandpa, there are too many people here, Zhuqiu Luoyan exclaimed. Long Qianshan is a martial arts expert whose name shook the world 10 years ago. After 10 years of seclusion, he reappeared and challenged Yi Xiantian to a battle. Such a grand event. As long as one is a martial artist, they would want to witness it with their own eyes. Old man Zhuqiu stroked his beard and said, This Master Yi was so arrogant in Sangzhou. Now, someone finally taught him a lesson. Zhuqiu Luoyan gloated. The outcome of this battle is obvious. The only thing I'm looking forward to is how long Master Yi can last against Long Qianshan. Old man Zhuqiu was optimistic about Long Qianshan. I hope Master Yi won't lose too quickly. Otherwise, it would be too boring. Zhuqiu Luoyan said, It's better if he loses quickly. That way, I can earn more. Zhuqiu Qinyu suddenly interrupted. Sister, what do you mean? Zhuqiu Luoyan raised her head and looked at Zhuqiu Qinyu. Zhuqiu Qinyu, old man Zhuqiu, and Zhuqiu Luoyan returned to Sangzhou not long after they met in Qingling. The Zhuqiu family was a martial arts family. After Zhuqiu Qinyu returned to the family, she began to learn martial arts. Zhuqiu Qinyu was influenced by the environment she grew up in. She had a violent tendency and yearned for martial arts. However, she started too late and didn't have a good foundation. Therefore, her progress was very slow. However, she learned a lot about the hidden Jianghu. Don't you know? Someone in Sangzhou opened a bet. I bet a lot on Long Qinshan winning. Zhuqiu Qinyu said excitedly. Old man Zhuqiu and Zhuqiu Luoyin were stunned. Miss, I'm afraid you will lose everything you have bet on Long Qinshan. A voice suddenly came from the side. The three people from the Zhuqiu family looked over curiously. They saw that the person who spoke was an ordinary-looking young man. Zhuqiu Luoyin looked at him and found him familiar. I think I've seen you before. When we were in Sangzhou's park. Old man Zhuqiu suddenly reminded her. Yes, I remember now. Zhuqiu Luoyin said. Old man Zhuqiu and Zhuqiu Luoyin only knew Master Ye's name. They had never seen Master Yi in person. The only thing they could remember was that they had seen him in Sangzhou's park. However, they didn't know that this person was Master Yi. As for Zhuqiu Qinyu, she had never seen Yi Fan before. Hey, you said that I will lose everything. It seems like you know Master Yi well. Do you think Master Yi will win? Zhuqiu Qinyu asked the young man who spoke just now. The battle hasn't started yet. If you change your bet now, it might not be too late. Yi Fan was in a good mood. Therefore, he didn't hesitate to give her a friendly reminder. Why should I listen to you? Zhuqiu Qinyu found it funny. It's just a suggestion. It's up to you whether you want to listen or not. Yi Fan said lightly. Old man Zhuqiu looked at Yi Fan and saw that he was calm. He didn't look like an impetuous young man at all. He secretly felt that this person was not simple. He couldn't help but ask, Young man, it seems like you are certain that Master Yi will win. Do you know Master Yi? Yi Fan only smiled and didn't answer his question. Old man Zhuqiu wanted to ask more questions. However, he suddenly felt that the sky had darkened. Looking up, he saw that the originally clear sky was suddenly filled with dark clouds, as if a storm was coming. At the same time, Long Qinshan, who was fishing on a small boat in the river, suddenly spoke. Yi Xiantian, it's time. Please show yourself. His voice was spread by true qi and suddenly resounded. The people on the shore felt that their eardrums were hurting. Yi Fan jumped into the river and stepped on the water as if he was walking on flat ground. Under the shocked gazes of the surrounding people, he stopped 15 meters away from Long Qinshan. Yi Xiantian has been waiting for you for a long time. Chapter 667. Yi Fan's voice was amplified by a special method, but it was not as loud as Long Qinshan's. It was only audible to Long Qinshan and the people on the riverbank. However, as soon as he said that, the dark clouds in the sky seemed to have thickened a little, and a faint drizzle began to fall. Long Qinshan stood on the boat and looked up at the dark clouds in the sky. He felt a little breathless, and a sense of fear rose in his heart. Yi Xiantian was not even 20 years old. He was too young. However, not only did Long Qinshan underestimate him, but he was also wary of him. After all, 2 days ago, he had met a young man who was not even 20 years old. That young man's strength was beyond his imagination. Yi Xiantian was also so young. Would he also have terrifying strength? Long Qinshan hoped that Yi Xiantian would not come. If that was the case, he would not have to face such a situation. However, with so many pairs of eyes looking at him, he could not retreat even if he wanted to. Since that was the case, then let's fight. Even if he could not win, he would give it his all. The fear in Long Qinshan's heart gradually dissipated and was replaced by a rising battle intent. 10 years ago, he lost to Yi Wuan. After that, he went into seclusion in the Seven Despair Valley for 10 years to improve his martial arts. 10 years had passed, and his wish had been fulfilled. He had reached the ideal realm of martial arts. Now that he had not fought Yi Wuan, how could he retreat? Retreating before the battle went against his martial arts will. Long Qinshan, didn't you want to avenge your disciple? I'm here now, Yi Xiantian said. After Long Qinshan changed his mind, he regained his battle intent and laughed. I have many disciples like him. It's no big deal if one of them dies. The reason why I want to fight you is because I want to use you to train myself before the battle with Yi Wuhan. So, you want to use me to train yourself? Yi Fan smiled faintly. However, his smile disappeared in an instant. I'm not afraid to tell you that I want to borrow something from you. What is it? Long Qinshan asked in a deep voice. Your life, Yi Fan said slowly. You want to use my life to become famous? Long Qinshan's eyes flashed. That's right. Yi Fan nodded. Huh, good. Today, let's see if you will become my whetstone or if I will become your stepping stone. Long Qinshan laughed maniacally. Don't disappoint me. Yi Fan smiled. In his opinion, there was no suspense in this battle. He only hoped that Long Qinshan would be slightly stronger. Otherwise, it would be meaningless to kill him. After speaking, Yi Fan slowly lifted his leg and gently stomped on the surface of the river. The originally calm Chunshin River suddenly caved in. The water that was squeezed out gathered into a huge wave that swept towards Long Qinshan. Boom! The huge waves smashed the small boat under Long Qinshan's feet into pieces. However, Long Qinshan was safe and sound as he stood on the tip of the wave. There was not a single drop of water on Long Qinshan's body. When Yi Fan saw this, he nodded in satisfaction. Good skill, Long Qinshan exclaimed in admiration. He stepped on the tip of the huge wave, and his body was several feet above the water surface. Suddenly, he threw out a punch. There was a sonic boom as Yi Fan's body moved to the side and was 6 feet away. Following that, there was a huge crater that was about 3 feet wide and 5 feet deep on the surface of the water where Yi Fan was standing just now. Vaguely, the crater was in the shape of a fist. Yi Fan had just dodged to the side when another sonic boom followed closely behind. This time, Yi Fan did not dodge. Instead, he threw out a punch in the air. 2 sonic booms were heard as the 2 forces collided in the air. A deafening sound that made the eardrums of the people on the riverbank hurt resounded. The water surface of the Chunshin River caved in, and the water that was squeezed out even hit the riverbank. The people on the riverbank were so frightened that they quickly retreated. On the other hand, the huge waves on the Chunshin River blocked everyone's vision for a moment. However, in this short period of time, everyone could clearly hear a terrifying sonic boom. As for the people on the small boats that were watching the battle, their boats were overturned by the huge waves and fell into the river. Only a few people with extraordinary abilities were lucky enough to survive. Wang Haoran's small boat was among them. However, the person who blocked the huge waves and protected the small boat was not Wang Haoran, but Yi Wuhan. See, I've already warned you that it's very dangerous on the river. Do you believe me now? If it wasn't for me, you would have been swimming in the water. Yi Wuhan said to Wang Haoran and Qin Huaiming, who were on the small boat, as he stared at the blurry silhouettes in the huge waves. Wang Haoran and Qin Huaiming looked at each other and smiled. However, they did not say anything. Yi Wuhan thought that the 2 college students were speechless because they were frightened by the scene. However, she was not in the mood to comfort the 2 of them. She only stared at the battle with a solemn expression. She was very busy in the imperial capital, and it was not easy for her to find time to come to the demonic capital. His purpose was to see exactly what cultivation level Long Qinshan had reached after 10 years had passed. After all, there would be a battle between her and Long Qinshan. It was a fated battle that could not be avoided. The figures in the huge waves that were rapidly crossing each other suddenly separated. The huge wave that had been raised into the air also fell back to the surface of the water. Everyone's field of vision became clear again. Yi Fan and Long Qinshan stood facing each other with a distance of 50 feet between them. Both of them looked fine. It did not seem like the battle had ended. Long Qinshan, if this is all you've got, I'm very disappointed. Show me your ultimate skill, the entwined dragon silk. Otherwise, you won't stand a chance. Yi Fan gradually lost interest in the battle. He had heard that Long Qinshan had a trump card called the Entwined Dragon Silk. This was Yi Fan's only hope for Long Qinshan. Long Qinshan's wrinkled face was solemn. This was because Yi Xintian was too strong. Long Qinshan had used almost all of his strength, but it felt like he was hitting cotton. He could not hurt Yi Xintian at all. Your strength has exceeded my expectations. I originally prepared this for Yi Wuhan. However, you are qualified to experience it. Long Qinshan didn't dare to underestimate Yi Xintian in the slightest. However, he still spoke arrogantly. As soon as he finished speaking, the entwined dragon silk that he had been fishing for several days under the spring Shanjiang River slowly floated up from the water under the guidance of Long Qianshan's true energy. The dense entwined dragon silk gradually gathered. As soon as it touched the fishes in the spring Shanjiang River, their bodies were instantly torn apart. The water under the water was a nightmare for the fishes. A large area of the spring Shanjiang River was soon dyed red. At the same time, the entwined dragon silk that was hundreds of feet wide also appeared. In a flash, it rolled toward Yi Fan and weaved into a cocoon, wrapping Yi Fan inside. Chapter 668. The entwined dragon silk was formed by Long Qianshan's true qi and a special method. Even steel would be easily cut by the entwined dragon silk, let alone flesh and blood. Long Qianshan had wrapped Yi Xiantian up with the entwined dragon silk, thinking that the battle was over. However, when Long Qianshan controlled the entwined dragon silk to shrink until it reached the size of a cocoon, it could not shrink any further. It was as if a terrifying force was stopping him. Long Qianshan knew something was wrong. In the next moment, a vertical crack appeared on the cocoon made of the entwined dragon silk. Yi Fan opened the cocoon with his hand and walked out. Even his clothes were not damaged, let alone hurt him. Long Qianshan's bronze-skinned face turned pale. On the riverbank, the spectators were also dumbfounded. Long Qianshan's most powerful move, which had been famous for 10 years, could not hurt Yi Xiantian at all. I can't believe that this ordinary-looking young man is Master Yi. Zhuoqiu Luoyin's young face was filled with shock and astonishment. You can't judge a book by its cover. I can't believe that even Long Qianshan can't do anything to him. Now that Long Qianshan has used his most powerful killing move, it seems like the battle is about to end. Old man Zhuoqiu sighed. That young man named Wang is right. Even if all the 10 great martial arts families in Sangzhou were combined, they would not be able to defeat Master Yi. Fortunately, I listened to him. Oh no, I'm going to lose so much. Zhuoqiu Qinyu's beautiful face was filled with heartache. He had bet a lot on Long Qianshan to win. He thought that he could make a fortune. He did not expect Yi Xiantian to be so powerful that even Long Qianshan could not defeat him. Sister, how much did you bet? Zhuoqiu Luoyin asked curiously. Old man Zhuoqiu looked at his eldest granddaughter curiously. To make it up to his granddaughter, old man Zhuoqiu doted on Zhuoqiu Qinyu and allowed her to use the Zhuoqiu family's wealth as she wished. Zhuoqiu Qinyu stammered and did not dare to say it out loud. Old man Zhuoqiu's face twitched when he saw his granddaughter's expression. He had a bad feeling about this. Did his granddaughter bet all of the Zhuoqiu family's wealth? Zhuoqiu Qinyu was filled with regret. She thought to herself that she was a spendthrift. She had taken over her grandfather's position in the family. Family's wealth. But because of the investment, he kept losing money, and almost all the businesses left behind by his late grandfather were lost. Now that she had found her biological grandfather, her luck was luck. Who would have thought that he would walk down the same old path? Man proposes, God disposes. On the riverbank, other than the 3 people from the Zhuoqiu clan, the others were also very surprised by the current situation. No one had expected that Yi Xiantian, who was not as famous as Long Qianshan, would have such terrifying strength. Was watching. Qian's. Long Qianshan was much stronger than 10 years ago. He had reached the human immortal realm. He was at the peak of martial arts. 10 years ago, Yi Wuhan was able to defeat Long Qianshan. But after witnessing this battle, she knew that she had little chance of winning against Long Qianshan. The reason was that she was distracted by worldly affairs. She cared about her appearance and had been wasting her true qi to slow down her aging. Long Qianshan, on the other hand, was focused on martial arts. 10 years later, the gap between them had widened. Yi Wuhan knew that she would not be able to survive if they fought. Fortunately, even though Long Qianshan was strong, Yi Xiantian was even stronger. If Yi Xiantian could injure Long Qianshan or kill him, she would not have to face the battle with Long Qianshan. Yi Wuhan could not sense any ferocious aura from Yi Xiantian. Yi Xiantian might not be that kind of person. Long Qianshan did not care about the safety of the fire country. If Yi Xiantian wanted the first place, she would give it to him. Yi Wuhan did not care about the title. Long Qianshan was different. He was a martial arts maniac. He had no principles and did not care about other things. If Long Qianshan died today, it would be a good thing for Yi Wuhan. Yi Wuhan continued to stare at the battle in the field with anticipation. Yi Fan walked out of the cocoon and stepped on the river. He looked at Long Qianshan's pale face and commented, "Your entwined dragon silk is pretty good, but the gap between you and me is too big. But to some extent, you are a worthy opponent. You are qualified to die in my hands." Following this, Yi Fan's figure slowly floated upward, as if he was being lifted by an invisible force. Yi Fan pointed at the sky. Boom! Dark clouds surged and rain dripped down. A thunderclap exploded and rushed down from the sky. Then, a lightning ball with a diameter of 1 foot appeared a few feet in front of Yi Fan's fingertip. Everyone on the riverbank was aghast. Using the power of heaven and earth was beyond the human immortal realm. You are a saint. Long Qianshan was shocked. The human immortal realm was the strongest on the ground. The saint could travel in the air and use the power of heaven and earth. Saint, Yi Fan smiled and said, "I will use half of my power to take your life. It is my respect for you. Do you have any last words?" Long Qianshan's throat was blocked, and he could not say a word. Yi Fan did not give him any time. He flicked his finger. The lightning ball locked onto Long Qianshan and shot toward him. At that moment, Long Qianshan felt the threat of death. He wanted to reach the peak of martial arts. Was he going to die here? If he died, he would lose everything. So what if it was not his own power? If he lost his life, how could he reach the peak of martial arts? Long Qianshan thought of many things at that moment. In his desire to live, Long Qianshan used the power in his dantian that did not belong to him. Just as the lightning ball was about to hit Long Qianshan, a light blue energy sword that was a few feet long instantly formed. The chi sword came into contact with the lightning ball and shattered it. Immediately, it shot towards the indifferent Yi Fan at lightning speed. Yi Fan's calm eyes suddenly trembled. He did not expect this at all. However, even though he was in a hurry, his instinctive battle consciousness drove him to dodge the attack. His figure that was floating in the air flashed and narrowly avoided the attack. However, the pale blue aura sword quickly followed. Yi Fan quickly realized that the chi sword had locked onto him, and he could not dodge it. Yi Fan did not want to run away under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Yi Fan immediately made a decision. He channeled all his spiritual chi and set up layers of defense in front of him. However, the light blue chi sword broke through all the defenses and pierced through Yi Fan's body. Yi Fan spat out a mouthful of blood. His body fell from midair and plunged into the river. As for the light blue energy sword that pierced through Yi Fan, its momentum did not dissipate as it landed on the surface of the river, directly plowing through the 500 feet long surface of the Chunshan River. For a few seconds, the mud at the bottom of the Chunshan River could be seen. The river water that was plowed was splashing toward the riverbank. Chapter 669. Gasps could be heard from the riverbank. Only a few people with strong true chi cultivation were able to use their true chi to form a defense to block the incoming water. Most of the people were drenched. However, even if they used their true chi to form a defense to block the incoming water, they were still suffering. For example, Old Zwichio's wrinkled face was slightly pale. If the ripples from the battle were already so powerful, it was hard to imagine how terrifying the battle would be. Some of the people who were hit by the river water were seriously injured. No one had expected that they would be affected by the ripples, even though they were watching the battle from the riverbank. However, what they were most concerned about was not the ripples from the battle, but the situation of the battle. The water that had been stirred up fell back down from the sky. The surface of the river was covered with mist, and no one could see the situation clearly. After a while, the mist dissipated, and their vision became clear again. Long Qianshan was half kneeling on the water, and Yi Xiantian was nowhere to be seen. At the critical moment, everyone vaguely saw that Yi Xiantian was injured and plunged into the river. It seemed that Yi Xiantian was doomed. Obviously, Long Qianshan was the winner of this battle. Everyone was still in shock and could not recover from the shock. The outcome of this decisive battle was within everyone's expectations. Everyone had thought that Long Qianshan would be the winner. However, they did not expect Yi Xiantian to be so powerful. But no matter what, everyone felt that this trip was not in vain. Being able to personally witness a battle between two peak experts was worth it. Long Qianshan won? I'm going to be rich. Amidst the silent crowd, a coquettish female voice filled with ecstasy rang out. Ding! The host manipulated behind the scenes and caused Yi Fan to fail. The reward is 18,000 villain points, Yi Fan's protagonist aura of a -900, and the host's villain aura plus 900. Wang Haoran, who was sitting quietly on a small boat in the water, received a message. Yi Wuhan, who was standing in front of the boat, clutched his chest. His face was filled with pain, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. The terrifying sword qi had affected the river water for hundreds of feet, and the boat was naturally swept in. Yi Wuhan could only circulate all his true qi to protect the small boat. Only then was he able to protect the small boat and the people on it. However, he also suffered some injuries because of this. Yi Wuhan wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth as he looked at Long Qianshan, who was standing on the river. She did not expect Long Qianshan to reach such a terrifying level after cultivating in seclusion for 10 years. If Long Qianshan was just a demigod, Yi Wuhan would have a chance of winning. But now, Long Qianshan had crossed the threshold of human immortal Lu Di and entered a higher level. He had left her far behind. Yi Wuhan's mouth was full of bitterness. The day of my battle with Long Qianshan will probably be the day of my death, right? Just as Yi Wuhan was thinking about this, Long Qianshan stepped on the water and walked towards them. Yi Wuhan was shocked. Could it be that Long Qianshan couldn't wait any longer and wanted to fight him now? He had just fought a great battle with Yi Xiantian and had consumed a lot of energy. Now, he wanted to fight with him. He really didn't take him seriously at all. But even so, Yi Wuhan still felt that he had no chance of winning. Yi Wuhan tensed up and circulated all his true qi. Long Qianshan came to a stop a few meters away from the boat. He looked at Yi Wuhan and narrowed his eyes. 10 years have passed, and your progress is really mediocre. Yi Wuhan looked at the young couple from the corner of his eyes and said to Long Qianshan, after this battle, your name, Long Qianshan, will be known all over the world. After he complimented Long Qianshan, he changed the topic. But this is between you and me. Don't involve others. Long Qianshan was slightly surprised when he saw Yi Wuhan's reaction. However, he did not delve into the relationship between Yi Wuhan and the two people on the boat. Moreover, the reason why he had come was not to see Yi Wuhan. If it wasn't for your help, I would have died. Thank you for saving my life. Long Qianshan knelt down and kowtowed 3 times. Then, he said sincerely, I have always pursued martial arts and vowed to reach the peak of martial arts. But in the end, I was like a frog at the bottom of a well. After meeting you, I realized that there is always someone better than me. Please accept me as your disciple. Long Qianshan's sudden action caused Yi Wuhan to be shocked. Although Long Qianshan was kowtowing to her, she certainly did not think that Long Qianshan was talking to her. She turned her head slightly and looked at the young couple behind her. Her gaze wavered and finally fell on Wang Haoran. Your talent is too poor. You are not qualified to be my disciple, Wang Haoran said faintly. Long Qianshan's face turned ashen when he heard that. After using the power that did not belong to him to defeat Yi Xiantian, Long Qianshan was completely infatuated with this kind of power. However, he knew that the power did not belong to him. After defeating Yi Xiantian, the power had been used up. Long Qianshan only thought of becoming Long Qianshan's disciple. But, Wang Haoran said, I can let you take my name. Long Qianshan's strength in martial arts was also very high. Moreover, he was both good and evil. If Long Qianshan could control him well, he would be a very good fighter. Of course, Wang Haoran did not mind taking in such a disciple. Yi Fan was afraid of trouble and did not want to do everything himself. That was why he took in a disciple like Yin Shi. Wang Haoren was also afraid of trouble and did not want to waste too much time. If there was no need for him to do it personally, he could leave it to his disciple. Thank you, master. Although he was only a disciple in name, Long Qianshan was still very happy. He was overjoyed and kowtowed to Wang Haoren. Yi Wuhan's red lips were wide open. She was so shocked that she could not speak. Wang Haoren patted Qin Huaiming's hand. Qin Huaiming understood and let go of Wang Haoren's arm. Wang Haoren stood up and walked to Yi Wuhan. He gently placed his hand on her shoulder and instantly healed her injuries. Thank you for your help just now. Otherwise, my girlfriend and I might have to swim in the water. Wang Haoren said with a smile. Yi Wuhan was a little ashamed. She thought that if she did not take the initiative to help, Wang Haoren would definitely protect the boat. It was laughable that her action was unnecessary and she even got injured. I was blind and did not recognize an expert. Please forgive me. Yi Wuhan became reserved. Don't treat me as an outsider. I am very happy to have a friend like you. If I go to the imperial capital, I will definitely look for you. Wang Haoren smiled at her. Yi Wuhan was dazed for a moment. She was secretly delighted and quickly replied, It's a promise. On the riverbank, many people were looking at them. Wang Haoren did not want to attract too much attention. He walked back to Qin Huaiming's side and prepared to take her away. However, he suddenly thought of something and turned to Long Qianshan. Help me pass a message to Tsang Province's Zhuqiu family. Tell them. After Wang Haoren finished instructing Long Qianshan, he grabbed Qin Huaiming's waist and jumped off the boat. Stepping lightly on the water's surface, he disappeared from Yi Wuhan and Long Qianshan's sight. Chapter 670. Wang Haoren and Qin Huaiming left everyone's field of vision and came to a quiet little path near the river. Is Yi Xiantian dead? Qin Huaiming asked as she held his arm. If he died so easily, he wouldn't be Yi Xiantian. Wang Haoren sighed. After Yi Fan fell into the water, he escaped with the help of the water. However, Wang Haoren was only pretending to sigh on the surface for Qin Huaiming to see. In fact, he never thought that Long Qianshan would be able to kill Yi Fan. The power he gave Long Qianshan was only at the peak of Qi refining level 9. It was already the best result for him to injure Yi Fan. Yi Fan was an old monster who had lived for thousands of years. He had too many tricks up his sleeves. That's a pity, Qin Huaiming said regretfully. It's all right. If we don't have a chance this time, we'll do it next time. Wang Haoren comforted her. Are we going to the Xinya Pavilion now? Qin Huaiming calmed herself down and suddenly said, Yes. Wang Haoren nodded. On the other side, Yi Wuhan and Long Qianshan looked at the direction Wang Haoren disappeared in for a while before retracting their gazes. So you borrowed the power of others. It seems like the gap between us isn't as big as I thought. Yi Wuhan relaxed a little. She had heard the conversation between Long Qianshan and Wang Haoren. Naturally, she could tell that Long Qianshan had borrowed the power of others. Let's forget about our battle. Long Qianshan's attention was on Yi Wuhan as he suddenly said, Oh, why? Yi Wuhan was surprised. You're my teacher's friend. I don't want to fight to the death with you. Of course, if you really want to fight, I'll accompany you to the end. Long Qianshan said, Forget it. Yi Wuhan immediately said. She had no interest in fighting to the death with this old man. She had no choice but to fight to the death with him. Long Qianshan had said that if she didn't fight with him, he would go to the imperial capital and start a massacre. Yi Wuhan had no choice but to agree. Yi Wuhan, I'll take my leave then. Long Qianshan was in a hurry to help his teacher. Wait a moment. Yi Wuhan suddenly called out to him. Is there anything else? Long Qianshan was puzzled. You'd better think twice before you do anything in the future. It's best if you don't kill, Yi Wuhan reminded. I don't need you to tell me that. I am now a disciple of a heavenly being. My words and actions cannot bring shame to my master's name. Long Qianshan said proudly. That's for the best. Yi Wuhan smiled. Don't be happy too early. If master gives the order, no matter who it is, I can kill them. Long Qianshan's eyes flickered with a fierce light as he added. Yi Wuhan's smile disappeared and he frowned. But soon, he relaxed again. Although he had seen Wang Haoren once, looking at his appearance, he didn't have any vicious aura. He shouldn't be a bad person, right? Xiao Chen guessed that Long Qianshan would not order Long Qianshan to do such a heinous thing. While Yi Wuhen was deep in thought, Long Qianshan had already started walking towards the riverbank. Yi Wuhen retracted his gaze and looked in the direction of the imperial capital. Now that this matter was over, it was time to return to the imperial capital. Firstly, the imperial capital needed her to oversee it. Secondly, she wanted to tell her master about her trip to the demonic capital. Her master was nearing the end of his life and was in seclusion to break through to the supreme realm. Before entering seclusion, her master had told her not to disturb her before the sky fell. Although the sky had not fallen, Yu Wuhin felt that the appearance of a Saint Realm expert was no small matter. It was absolutely necessary to tell her master. On the riverbank, Zhuqiu Qinyu's face was filled with an excited smile. She was calculating how much money she could make this time. Old man Zhuqiu and Zhuqiu Luoyan saw her expression and laughed. Although the two of them didn't know how much Zhuqiu Qinyu had bet, looking at her money-grubbing appearance, it must be terrifyingly high. The people on the riverbank looked at the river from afar. Due to the mist, they couldn't see the river's surface clearly. They could only vaguely see a few figures. After a while, he could vaguely see two figures disappearing. Then he saw someone walking on the water toward him. When the person came closer, everyone saw that it was Long Qianshan. Under everyone's admiring and respectful gazes, Long Qianshan came to the riverbank. Long Qianshan looked around and asked in a deep voice, "Where are the people from the Zhuqiu family in Tsang province?" The people who knew the Zhuqiu family in seclusion all looked at them. The three people from his Zhuqiu family who were immersed in the joy of making a fortune suddenly became nervous. Long Qianshan didn't look like a good person at first glance. Moreover, his face was tense. He suddenly came here to look for someone. It seemed as if he was looking for trouble. The people couldn't help but look at the three people from the Zhuqiu family sympathetically. Old man Zhuqiu, Zhuqiu Luoyan, and Zhuqiu Qinyu were panicking. Could it be that extreme joy begets sorrow? The three of them had seen Long Qianshan's ability earlier. If Long Qianshan wanted to do something to them, they wouldn't be able to resist. "Master Long, what did the Zhuqiu family do to offend you?" Although old man Zhuqiu was afraid, he still stood in front of his two granddaughters and asked Long Qianshan solemnly. As he spoke, he circulated all his true qi. If Long Qianshan really wanted to mess around, he would protect his two granddaughters even if it meant that his old bones would fall apart. However, to everyone's surprise, Long Qianshan suddenly cupped his fist and forced a kind smile. "Master Zhuqiu, you've misunderstood. My master wants to invite you to Xinya skyscraper." Long Qianshan's attitude surprised old man Zhuqiu. However, he was even more puzzled. "Master Long, may I ask who your master is?" "My master asked me to tell you that his surname is Wang." "You'll understand after I tell you," Long Qianshan said. Old man Zhuqiu was stunned for a moment. However, he quickly remembered someone. He turned around and exchanged glances with his two granddaughters. The two granddaughters' eyes were filled with joy. It was obvious that they had the same thought as him. "Master Zhuqiu, this way please," Long Qianshan said respectfully. Although he didn't know the relationship between the Zhuqiu family and his master, he could tell that they knew each other from the way his master asked him to invite the Zhuqiu family to Xinya skyscraper. Naturally, Long Qianshan didn't dare to be negligent. "Master Long, you're too polite." Old man Zhuqiu cupped his fist and returned the greeting. "This way, please." Long Qianshan led the way for the three Zhuqiu family members. The crowd automatically parted to form a path for them. Among the crowd, there were some hidden experts in the Jianghu. When they saw this scene, they were extremely envious of the Zhuqiu family. Old man Zhuqiu had lived for so many years, but it was his first time being so grand. It was as though he was walking with wind under his feet. However, old man Zhuqiu knew that it was because of Zhuqiu Qinyu and Zhuqiu Luoyan, the two beautiful sisters. As their grandfather, he was also basking in their glory. Chapter 671. Xinya Cottage was a famous resort in Shanghai. It was also the property of the Qin clan. Wang Haoren, Qin Huaimeng, Qin Yunhan, and the others were all staying there. Wang Haoren and Qin Huaimeng arrived at the restaurant in Xinya Cottage. After waiting for some time, they saw Long Qianshan and the 3 people from the Zhuqiu clan. Senior Zhuqiu, how have you been? Wang Haoran greeted Old Man Zhuqiu with a smile. Young friend, please don't make me feel bad. I can't accept it. Old Man Zhuqiu waved his hand nervously. Wang Haoran smiled and didn't reply. Instead, he looked at Zhuqiu Qinyu and Zhuqiu Luoyin, who were nervous. Why are you looking at me like that? Have a seat. Hearing the familiar voice, Zhuqiu Qinyu and Zhuqiu Luoyin recovered from their shock and smiled. They didn't dare to recognize him just now. Who was Long Qianshan? That was the second person on the Earth leaderboard whose name shook the world 10 years ago. He was like a celestial being who defeated Yi Xiantian at the spring Xinjiang River. Long Qianshan was already someone they looked up to. How terrifying would the person who was addressed as teacher by Long Qianshan be? The two of them thought highly of Wang Haoran's strength. However, they felt that they had underestimated him. Old Man Zhuqiu, Zhuqiu Qinyu, and Zhuqiu Luoyin sat down. After Long Qianshan brought them in, he left quietly and didn't disturb them. I'm Qin Huaiming, also Haoran's girlfriend. Nice to meet you. Qin Huaiming introduced herself and took the initiative to express her friendliness to the Zhuqiu sisters. On the way here, she had chatted with Wang Haoran. Naturally, she knew that the two of them were the emperor's concubines in their previous lives. Since they were sisters, they would spend a lot of time together in the future. Qin Huaiming wanted to build a good relationship with them. Zhuqiu Qinyu and Zhuqiu Luoyin looked at each other and greeted Qin Huaiming in a friendly manner. As for the addition of another sister, the two of them were not very surprised. When Zhuqiu Qinyu had approached him, she had already mentally prepared herself. Zhuqiu Luoyin had grown up in the Tsang province and had come into contact with many matters of the hidden Jianghu. It was very normal for a man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. She was used to it and did not reject it. After exchanging friendly greetings, Qin Huaiming's tone gradually became warmer. He first spoke to Zhuqiu Qinyu. I'm 21 this year. You should be a little older than me. I'll call you sister from now on. After saying that, he turned to Zhuqiu Luoyin and said, I will address you as little sister. You calling Qinyu elder sister is not wrong, but calling Luo Yin younger sister is wrong. Wang Haoran interjected with a smile. What's wrong? Luoyin doesn't look more than 14 years old. Could it be that she's older than me? Qin Huaiming joked. Clang. Wang Haoran was about to correct him. Zhuqiu Luoyin suddenly said, I'm only 13 years old. It's not wrong to call me little sister. Just call me that. Hearing that, Zhuqiu Qinyu could not help but roll her eyes. She secretly ridiculed her little sister for pretending to be young and shameless. All right, I'll call you little sister from now on. Qin Huaiming did not understand the reason, so he naturally did not feel that there was a problem. He continued, This Xinya cottage is my family's property. Elder sister and little sister have come all the way from the Tsang province. Why don't you stay in Shanghai for a while, and let me be a good host? Zhuqiu Qinyu and Zhuqiu Luoyin immediately agreed. It was not easy for them to meet Wang Haoran. They were unwilling to return to the Tsang province just like that. The next day, Old Man Zhuqiu set off for the Tsang province alone. Zhuqiu Qinyu and Zhuqiu Luoyin temporarily stayed in Shanghai. Old Man Zhuqiu was not worried. With Wang Haoran by their side, no one could harm them. Other than Old Man Zhuqiu, the martial artists who came to Shanghai to watch the battle also returned to where they came from. The news of the battle between Long Qianshan and Yi Xiantian quickly spread throughout the hidden Jianghu. At the same time, the Baishaoxing organization that had been passed down for a long time announced a new list, the Heaven List. Long Qianshan and Yi Xiantian were both on the list. The former was ranked 9th, while the latter was ranked 10th. Wang Haoran was not surprised at all when he heard the news. When he heard about the Earth List, he had already guessed that there was a Heaven List above the Earth List. Sure enough, the Heaven List had really appeared. However, other than Long Qianshan and Yi Xuantian's names, the top 8 people did not reveal any information about them. Not even their names were revealed. Many people in the hidden Jianghu suspected that the Baishaoxing was deliberately mystifying things. In fact, the top 8 people on the Heaven List did not exist. However, Wang Haoran, who knew the tricks, knew that the top 8 people on the heaven list definitely existed. When Yi Xintian fought with Long Qianshan, his cultivation level was at the 7th level of the qi refining stage. The strength that Long Qianshan used to defeat Yi Fan was at the peak of the 9th level of the qi refining stage. According to this speculation, the top 8 people on the heaven list were at least at the foundation establishment stage. Of course, this was only the name in the immortal cultivation world. It might not be the same on the cerulean planet. There might be another name. However, it was just a name. It was not important. What was important was that the top 8 people on the heaven list were definitely not simple. Wang Haoren's current cultivation level was at the 4th level of the foundation establishment stage. He did not know what level he would be on the heaven list at this level. However, Wang Haoren estimated that he would not be in the top 3. However, this was only for the time being. After learning about the existence of the heaven list, Wang Haoren was eager to improve his strength. Moreover, the conditions allowed him to do so. Wang Haoren used a tried and tested method to trick Zhuqiu Qinyu and Zhuqiu Luoyin again. The two sisters had already accepted the fact and planned to follow Wang Haoren from now on. After learning that Wang Haoren was the reincarnation of the immortal emperor, they became even more determined. Everything was ready. Wang Haoren also entered the process. However, Wang Haoren looked at Zhuqiu Lian's petite appearance and could not do it. Only Zhuqiu Qinyu was left alone in the heaven-splitting tower. Ding! The host has captured the female lead Zhuqiu Qinyu for the first time. Received 6,000 villain points. Zhuqiu Qinyu's female lead Halo -300. Host villain Halo +300. Ding! The female lead Zhuqiu Qinyu's favorability towards the host has increased by 20. Current favorability is 70. Unchanging affection. Ding! Congratulations to the host villain Halo for breaking through the 40,000 mark. The system is beginning to calculate the reward. Please wait for a moment. Wang Haoren was not surprised by the first 2 messages. However, the last one shocked him. The last time he received the reward was when his Halo broke through 20,000. After that, the Halo points continued to accumulate and there was no movement. Wang Haoren thought that there would not be any more in the future. Who knew that the villain Halo would only be calculated when it reached 40,000. This gap was really a bit big. However, it was because of the 20,000 gap that Wang Haoren was looking forward to it. What kind of magical reward would it be this time?